Bristol West.
No, it's freaking.
Ready? Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's a few minutes past 7. We're all seated and ready to go. At this time, if I could ask for a roll call, please, from our town clerk.
Glenn Shibley,
Present.
Greg LeBoissonier,
Yep.
Kerry McGee,
Yeah.
Karen Carlson, Deb Bacon, Nicholas Gorham,
Here.
Ed Wazika.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, Mr. Spearman, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please, our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. While we're standing, if we could just pause a moment and ask the Lord up above to please bless the Molly Tibbetts family in Iowa. As we all probably have heard by now, she was brutally killed while jogging along a road in Iowa. She was to be a junior at the University of Iowa. We understand Molly was killed by illegal alien from Mexico. We also want to ask for prayers for the McCain family. We lost Senator John McCain at the age of 81, soon would have been 82. Was a true patriot, a Navy veteran, a war veteran of prison, POW, a senator for 6 terms, and we're certainly going to miss him here in America. Also, our condolences to the victims down in Jacksonville, Florida in the last couple days with that needless shooting as well. With those mentions, we ask for guidance down here in Coventry and your blessings as we proceed along through the end of the summer. And this we ask in your name. Amen. Mr. Spearman, emergency evacuation plan, please.
Yes, case for emergency, 2 exits in the rear, to your right or left, and I'll take outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spearman. Mr. Warzika reminded me that I had not gone to vibrate yet on my cell phone. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Briefly, President's comments. First and foremost, I do want to, for the record, go on and thank and congratulate our Coventry Little Leaguers, the 12-year-old All-Stars, for a terrific season. I know Mr. LeBoissonier and I were there for opening day, way back, was it April 14th. We wish them a good season, more than a good season. I was there for the pep rally as we sent them off. Mr. Spearman, you were there with us, and we sent them off in good fashion as they left Coventry and went to Bristol, Connecticut. Victory after victory, with some of the excitement. Bottom of the 6th inning, they beat New Hampshire, and then they went on and beat Massachusetts, who had beat us 10-1. We beat them 3-2. Then we go on as New England champs Little Coventry, one of the 8 best teams in the United States. Each team has a region. We represented the Northeast region. There were 8 regions, one of the 8 best. And we fought handsomely. I think it was a 3-1 loss to Houston, Texas, who happens to be the 4th largest city in our country. And then 9-5 to Iowa after we went ahead 5-4 in a nail biter. Again, no embarrassment there. They fought real hard, and then they went on and beat Australia, who not only represented their district but their country, and that was 15-0, I believe. And after 4 innings, they called the game. So we came home with a victory. We came home with a lot of good memories. The families, the coaches, the president of the league, Mr. Frenzy, Donovan Frenzy, and all of Coventry should take a lot of pride in what they've done. They definitely put Coventry on the map after 72 years in Williamsport. It was the first time that Coventry had gone to the World Series. And our comments and our definitely congratulations. I know that besides myself and Councilman LaBoissoniere, Councilwoman Bacon was there to greet them as they came in from Williamsport. And secondly, I'd like to just mention, many of you probably read where we had the passing of a former council person, Mr. Robert Pluff. He died on August 3rd, surrounded by his family. He was 86. He had been a councilman from 1980 to 1986, and he had been president from 1984 to 1986. The first 2 years I was on the town council. A super individual, a U.S. Navy retired veteran, and we'll certainly miss them. We had a nice in remembrance presented to the family, and then I just received the past week an appreciation note from Kathy Green, who is his daughter. They're currently living down in South Carolina. Other than that, I just at this time I want to wish everyone a happy and safe upcoming Labor Day weekend. I underscore safe because Coventry's had a lot of action in the last 3 or 4 days, and my cell phone has never had so much use from Mr. Warzika, but accidents happen, and I think we're all aware of the last couple occurrences that Coventry has faced, but we persevere and go on. So other than that, that's it for my President's comments. Next on the agenda, A3, we have the approval of the Town Council minutes of July 23rd and July 30th. We have them, I think, in our package, and why don't we take one by one? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 23rd?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, I see some changes.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next. Any corrections or any changes regarding the minutes? Mr. LaBoissoniere, you had some?
Well, one of them on page 3 of the minutes for July 23rd, I know under mine it says, but I understand that in the agreement we will be giving up, and it's not, I'm sure I didn't say we, it's they. That's what the company I was referring to, Venagro Trucking.
But what
paragraph? Well, it's only one paragraph, and it's the last sentence. Changing we to they.
Okay. Mrs. Amatrano, do you got that one?
I'm sure I was referring.
They will be giving up
Yeah.
landfill rights. Yeah, wouldn't be we. Okay, any other
And on
comment?
page 3, under what, under my, my quote there, of the,
Oh, here it is.
see that?
District 2, last line, actually.
All right, I see it.
Okay. Anything
Okay,
else?
and the other one is just a question on page 6. I see, I'm questioning the spelling of Mr. Massaroni's name. I don't,
Ooh.
I think it's spelled in,
That's not-
spelled incorrectly on there. I think it's Maceroni, am I correct? Is that what it is?
Spelling.
Whatever, yeah.
All right, we'll get to that correct in the spelling. You see the page 6, Joanne? Okay. Anything,
And other references as we go through, I think this, just want to make sure.
yeah, because you got it up top, too.
Yeah, there's a number of references that need to be changed with regards to his name.
Okay.
Okay, and then actually the next page, page 7, actually in the last paragraph is one from Karen Grandy. I think that's, it says access. I believe it probably meant to assess. They have the right under their documents to assess your penalty, not access you.
Okay, so
Strictly a spelling,
2 S's instead of 2
2
C's.
C's, I believe.
That's the third line from the bottom?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay, any other comments or corrections regarding the minutes? They were voluminous, that's for sure. I was gonna say,
A lot of pages to go through, so. It helps to have another few sets of eyes.
a semi-telephone book if anybody still uses them. Okay, then, motion made and seconded with those corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, very good. And now the minutes for July 30th. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, do I have any changes, amendments, or corrections regarding those 8 pages? Going? Anyone? Okay. I don't either. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think we had 5 ayes. Okay, very good. So minutes passed. Moving right along here. We have next the council district updates. Can I start to my left, Mr. Lavoisier? Not to throw you off, but I always lean on Mr. McGee. Just changing things up a little bit. Any updates on District 2?
Well, again, I'd like to extend my congratulations to the Coventry Little League, and if I'm not mistaken, Australia's a continent, isn't it? Didn't our kids beat a continent?
Yes, they
You know,
did.
so,
Country
I
and
think, you know,
continent.
and by a pretty lengthy score, too. So, and that, the only other thing I've got is that there is a misnomer that the town of Coventry has installed a 3-way stop at the end of Calvintown, or the junction of Calvintown and Hope Furnace Road, and that was the town of Situate that did that, because it actually sits in the town of Situate, so that was not us. But there is a 3-way stop there now, so, other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Carlson, District 1, please.
Good evening. Glad to see some people are here because I know it's August and who wants to go out, right? Because it's hot. But a couple of items. Supposedly, October 3rd, for those of you who are concerned, the Flickr hearing in front of the zoning board is scheduled for October 3rd. That's to do with the Flickr effects from our 10 turbines that, do we have them?
Yes, we do.
Awesome. I'm going to do a little show and tell tonight because I talk about this a lot, but you really don't see you have to see the effect. We have one property owner who never was told this was going to happen because he was outside of the, go with number 1, that's fine, the first one. He does not abut the property line with the turbines because there's something between them. Now that's only 1. You can see the height that's actually taller than the Statue of Liberty. He's got 6 of them behind his house. And you can't imagine the flicker that goes on 45, 55 minutes a day. it's giving them health issues. That is his barn. That's not even his house. That's his barn. He has 45 acres, I think, and he has got a house that dates back to, I think, the 1700s. It is gorgeous. Beautiful property. Okay, next one. That's his house. That shows you two of them behind his house. Again, as the sun, if you're looking at that house, the barn is over to the left, and it starts with 2 turbines there, and it sweeps around to the back of the house. So there's, it's like being timed for all 6 of them. And he's got this stunning pond, and it's like, and the trees are behind the pond, and it's like strobe lights. So it's just incredible. And I think there's another one. Yeah, that shows you the sun. And now if you can imagine, they're spinning, and that sun is blinking at you constantly as it moves along. And and this goes on all year round. So it's not just a winter thing when you think the leaves are gone. It is all year round. It's a horrible situation. And so the zoning board is hearing the issue on October 3rd, we hope. October 3rd. It was supposed to be September, but it got put off to October by the developer. So, and these turbines in their special use permit, it says 30 minutes per annum. That's 30 minutes a year, not 65 or 45 minutes a day times 6. Okay, thank you. Is that it? Is that the last one, I think?
There's more.
Is there more?
You sent like 5 or 6.
Did I? Oh, is there one of the house with all 6 of them?
Yes.
Yeah, that one is really dramatic. And I'm sorry to take up a couple extra minutes, but I really think it's important to see.
Keep going. Cody, I think there's another one.
Oh, I can't see. Yeah. That's all of them, and you can see them from Connecticut when you're going down towards Turkey Hill, Econk Road. You can see them, and you can also see the lights at night. And that's his house down at the bottom. So it just shows you that, people said, oh, you won't see them and you won't hear them. Well, also inside the house, there's vibrations. So and I don't want to call it infrasound, because people say there's no such thing, but be in a house near those, and the farther you get from them, the more effect you have. So you can stand under them and you won't hear them and you won't flicker, but go further away and then you get the effect. And we have several houses now in that row on 102 that are for sale because of this development, which doesn't belong in District 1 or anywhere else in our town. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Cody. I really appreciate it. Okay. Oh, Lewis Farm. Okay, so some of you might know Lewis Farm Road out there in Western. It's dirt, most of it. Some of it's got a nice bridge, the whole nine. It's over Buckshorn Bridge and all that. Last week we had the big. I wasn't here. I was out of state, but they had a big storm and it took out part of the road, and that's because we have a solar power plant going in. Nexamp is putting it in, and they took out a stone wall. They opened it up so the trucks could go in, and that stone wall was actually to help with flow from rain and everything. They took out soil, they clear-cut trees, so there's nothing to stop the rain, and it created a humongous sinkhole on Lewis Farm. They did fix it at no cost to the town, as it should have been. But it did close it for 2 or 3 days. But it opened by Monday. This happened, I think, Saturday night. Is that right, Ed? Yes. So they did address the situation. But again, commercial power plant, manufacturing electric, and until the minute I walk out this door and I'm done with this term, I will beat the crap out of everybody by saying that, because I am sick and tired of what they're doing to my district. Okay. You've heard that before. You'll probably hear it again. My other question is, regarding this agenda, I had a couple of items I asked for, including the senior tax freeze and discussing that. I think we're up to like $20-some million.
Yeah, I didn't get that request. We have one from update on the comprehensive. That's the
That
one I
too,
got.
thank you, I'm glad that's on there. And also, I'd like to know, again, where we are with the, proceeding with the judges in the applications, the CVs we've received.
Right. Well,
We haven't discussed it?
you know, we're still trying to hire a finance director and a
Well,
town
I
manager.
understand.
And eventually we'll get to it.
But
We've
they
got
are not
interviews.
involved in this.
Actually, I think we
It's the
could.
town council that appoints
Right,
these.
yeah, we could probably vote tonight, but we haven't interviewed the candidates, we have to decide.
No, we haven't. It's been
Right.
since the
Exactly.
March and April, I
It's
think.
been a little bit busy since April and March when our town manager left.
Well,
All right, if we
but the-
want to agree on a date, we could set up a.
Okay, how about the
decide
next
on-
meeting?
Decide on an interview. You can't have it the next meeting because you
well, we
have to
could
interview
do an
ahead of time.
executive session and
Right.
discuss the
And yet-
CVs. We've never even done
We
that.
have to decide how the process will go. We're going to interview 1, 2, or 3
Well,
candidates.
right.
That's right.
But we haven't even
could do-
discussed their
exactly.
CVs yet.
We haven't.
When will we do that?
Once we have another meeting, once we have a little breathing time.
Okay, as you can see, I don't get a lot on the.
Right. We haven't
Okay.
had any
You know,
meetings
thank
on
you,
that.
thank you,
Right.
whatever.
Okay. So, I mean, we can vote tonight if you want to right now.
No, you know that's not the process.
All right.
That's
Well,
not on the agenda.
it's true, it's not.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
when we get around to it, we can set up a meeting. If anybody has the dates in mind to set up a meeting to decide the process
Well, we should probably have
of how we.
How about an executive session at the next meeting, and then we discuss our
the process.
procedures?
Sure.
Okay? Ed?
We could probably do that.
Thank you.
That'd be September 10th, if we can fit that in to decide the process of going through the interview of the candidates.
We'll set that up for the next
An
meeting.
executive session
Yeah,
first.
Executive
it would
session.
have to be, yeah.
Thank
It'd have
you.
to be executive session, and then it would go from there. Okay, Mrs. Bacon, District 5.
Thank you, Glenn.
If you're just going to discuss the process, I don't think that's appropriate for closed session.
Okay, well,
To
I was just
interview
going into
candidates.
the
Should we just
recommendation.
discuss
Just
their-
for clarification.
Their
All right.
applications, can we do that
Excuse me?
in
Yeah,
executive
in closed
session?
session, but I distinctly heard we were going to discuss the process.
Well, then let's
Right.
discuss the CVs and the resumes we've gotten, and we've been holding since last spring, the next executive session.
That's between you councilmen, I'm just pointing out.
I know, I'm just saying, then it falls within the
Well,
12-step program for executive session.
I'm okay with that if we all want to collect the applications that Mrs. Wilcox has sent us and discuss it in executive session. I think there's 3 on one position and maybe 9 that I know of on another position, if they are still interested, and we can discuss the applications in executive session. And that would be for September 10th. And then we'd go from there. Obviously, we can't vote, and then we'd still have to probably find, eventually, we'll have to know the process of how we go about appointing. Okay, good enough. Let's get to District 5 as we can move right along on the meeting. Mrs. Bacon?
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay, that moved along good. Mr. McGee?
I also
District 3.
want to reiterate, Coventry Little League made the town proud. They really did. Everybody was really into it, and it brought the town together, so we're really proud of them, and, want to congratulate them on my behalf. Also, have a little concerns on, up at Dam Pond. I guess there's some tests going on. There's been tested high bacteria levels. I don't know if the test, I haven't had a chance to talk to our town manager, but I want to know if the tests are still continuing. I kind of think it's going to be becoming the same thing as Lake Tyoke, so we need to keep abreast on that and keep checking and testing that pond. Also, I just want to remind everybody from District 3 that Wednesday evening at 6:30 at Club Jokes, there's a comp plan meeting for District 3. I'm going to try to make it. I'm having a medical procedure done tomorrow. I may not be able to make it, but I will certainly do my best to try to make it. If not, somebody will represent or keep me abreast of what's happening at the meeting. So I just want to remind all my constituents, if you're concerned about a comp plan, to show up at 6:30 at Club Jokes. Besides that, everything else in the district's been going pretty smooth. I'm sure I'm going to forget something, but also I want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday weekend coming up. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGee. District 4 update, one notice, I know that it's been sent out a few times in the Times. Nathaniel Green Homestead is scheduled a skirmish that they did the last year or two. It's set for Saturday, September 8th, and Sunday, September 9th. Saturday, it's 10 to 5, and Sunday from 11 to 4. It's basically a Civil War enactment where they'll have cannon and musket demonstrations, music, lectures, and presentations. So that's just going to be held before our next council meeting on September 10th. Also, later on tonight, we'll be voting, but good news is that we understand that there's a new owner for the facility, formerly known as the Tioga Tavern, and previous to that, Nino's, which will be entitled Tavern on the Lake. And I know I'm excited about that because I pass the facility about 10 times a day, and I know that all of Coventry should be excited too, because it's a lovely location on a great lake, and we'll later on vote to confirm that coming in with the license, etc. So that's it on District 4. Next on the agenda, we have School Department Report. Mrs. Patnode, I see you, the chairperson. Come on forward, and good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for letting the school department come and give you an update once a month. It's very much appreciated. So, Coventry High School was visited by a Wall Street Journal reporter, Michelle Hackman, in the late spring of 2018. Michelle was visiting several Rhode Island career and tech education centers to assist in her writing an article on vocational training programs and the partnerships that exist between corporations and high schools to train future employees. On August 13th, her article was published in the Wall Street Journal. We were very excited to find that Coventry High School's partnership with Electric Boat was a major focus of the article. I actually brought the article, and I will attach it to the notes that I give you, but it was like right on the front page.
Nice.
It is really, really cool of that article. And just to give you a little snippet of what it says, Gabe Schorner never considered himself a good student until he enrolled in his high school's new welding program, where in an industrial-style classroom, Mr. Schorner found himself enchanted by the molten metal and its bright blue glow as he molded it. The skills he picked up led directly to a full-time offer from Electric Boat, the Rhode Island-based submarine manufacturer. He is now making $16.50 per hour. I don't like the idea of going to college. I wanted to avoid taking on that debt and everything else, Mr. Schorner said. Being out in the world is a lot more fun. Coventry High School established its welding program after Electric Boat, one of the state's largest employers, declared it was looking to hire 14,000 new employees in the next decade. The company wasn't finding enough recruits coming out of college, so it turned to high schools where students can be discovered early and the training is free. Such direct ties between big companies and local high schools are multiplying. So we made the news. Yeah. So if you guys want to read that. Second, and this is exciting news as well, the school committee recently approved the establishment of a marksmanship program, part of the Navy Junior ROTC program at Coventry High School, conditional on approval from our insurance company, the trust. On Wednesday, August 22nd, we received confirmation from the trust that our insurance policy would cover the establishment of the marksmanship program. We will only be the second public high school in Rhode Island to offer this program to our students. This is an exciting opportunity we are proud to offer to our community, and there are numerous NCAA colleges that offer scholarships for their marksmanship programs. I think it's an Olympic event as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
You should take a look at the Olympics. It's incredible.
I know. I've watched it. It's really pretty cool. We want to personally thank Mr. Jason Martin, our Director of Facilities and Transportation, and all of our custodial and maintenance staff for their efforts getting our schools ready for opening day. As we all have experienced, this has been an extremely humid summer, and our buildings are air conditioned. So we also had numerous program changes within our buildings. Mr. Martin and his staff have worked extremely hard this summer. Despite the reduction of custodial staff over the past decade and the age of our schools, they are clean and welcoming for our students, staff, and families. The superintendent would like to arrange a tour of our schools with the town council during the first 2 weeks of September. He will reach out to Mr. Waziki to coordinate the tour. The first day of school for our preschool and kindergarten programs is Wednesday, September 5th, and our opening day for teachers and SRP staff professional development is tomorrow. So that should be fun. And I will just offer this little bit of just this note. We had a school committee meeting last week, and we have on our school committee agenda a celebration time, and we were going to celebrate our custodians, and none of them came because they were so exhausted. So Mr. Jason Martin was there, and so we gave all kinds of praise to him and asked him to please bring it back to his staff, but they literally are overworked and extremely tired, and they just couldn't come out for another night. And finally, the superintendent will be reaching out to the town council to begin dialogue between the school department and the town council on developing a long-range plan to look at repair, maintenance, and potential for new construction of school facilities. We understand that there are incredible capital needs within the community. The school department would like to work with the town council in establishing a long-term plan to address a sustainable approach to ensuring high-quality learning environments for the next several generations of Coventry families. So, any questions, concerns?
Okay, any questions at all? Thank you, Mrs. Patnode, and thanks for the good report and the good news and the upcoming scheduled events as well. Appreciate it. And good luck this coming school season. Okay, next on the agenda is number 6, discussion regarding requests regarding capital fund allocation for school safety improvements. I know I got an email from Mr. Levis, copied to Mr. Warzika, to put this on the agenda, and we thought we'd oblige to at least discuss. So good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Sarah.
Thank you.
So again, I want to just reiterate what Ms. Patno said, and just thank you for the opportunity to come before the council. And this is just a dialogue, a presentation, this discussion. In the first week of August, the governor had a press release, and Jason Martin attended, and she's made available $10.5 million from the School Building Authority Capital Fund for high priority repairs or school safety projects. We've partnered with the Colonel and the police department. We've worked on a COPS grant for safety equipment. You're aware that we had an assessment done with the town. Mr. Wazika was part of that, the Colonel from Secure Our City, and we looked at just the schools, looked at the fields, all the town buildings. And so safety obviously is an issue, a concern that we have as a community. We also know that, and it was in our report, that we have, there's many capital needs within the community, not just the schools. And we know that we have an issue around capital funding. So tonight was just a dialogue. We have an opportunity on the table. We have an application that would have to be completed by September 21st. We don't have, as you know, and there was no capital for the town side, municipal side, or the schools. So we don't have capital funds. We have impact fees, which there's been a conversation with our attorney, Mr. Anderson, and I know with Mr. Gorham, about we have a stage 1 application in with the School Building Authority, not on major construction projects, just on really repairs. Like we have a retaining wall at the middle school that needs repaired. We have some HVAC systems that need to repair. We have tiles, we've talked about ceiling tiles, floor tiles that are asbestos, and they're fine right now, but they need to be replaced. So these are smaller projects that we're hoping to use the impact fees for the feasibility study. And there's some stipulations with that can lead into it. For instance, if we don't get those projects completed, we have to reimburse the impact fee fund because within the 5 years. So we don't have access to any funds. I've given you a copy of safety equipment or safety modifications, looking at intercom systems and looking at strobe light systems. We have failing intercom systems in many of our schools. Mr. Martin has met with Sonatrol to receive, that was with the strobe lights. He met with Sonatrol to get quotes on our strobe lights. We have areas where they can't, like in the gym, in some of our industrial settings at the high school, even when the intercom lockdown goes off, people can't hear. So we need strobe light systems. We've identified those in all of our buildings and fields, and I think there's a cost of the strobe light systems of about $20,800. Mr. Barash gave us an estimate for the intercom systems. So he looked at all the low voltage systems we had, and we have a total of $172,500 for our intercom systems within our school. So it's under $200,000. And what I'm asking the council for is, we've had dialogue since Mr., with the former town manager, with the previous interim town manager. We've had dialogues with Mr. Wazika when he was just functioning as one person, not three. Around the cell phone tower money. There's cell phone tower money. At some point it was commingled between the municipality and the schools. At one point, Mr. Waters basically gave us the box of all the documents and said, here's the box to go through it to look. But what I'm asking the council just to consider would be, we have an opportunity to get 55% reimbursement on these projects, which is through housing aid, which we could now reinvest. What I would ask the council is to consider, is there a way to assist us in funding some of these, all of these projects, so we could apply for the 10.5. I was listening to the radio today, and they're going on the different communities, Portsmouth, Tiverton, Jamestown has all done safety work over the summer. And they're going to see, can they retroactively go back and secure some of these funds. I felt it's at least my responsibility as a superintendent. We've discussed this twice as a school, with the school committee, to come forward to the council. And again, have a dialogue. The only way we're going to move forward is to dialogue and to come up with a plan. But again, I don't want to leave this will be leaving the, 55% on the table. And at least I want to be able to say, this is what we've done, and we've tried to identify some resources. We're not coming to you asking you for $1 million or $2 million. We're saying, is it a possibility to consider looking at, and I'm giving you a source, again, Mr. Wazika, or you know better what exists in that fund, in that account. But we're looking for an opportunity to partner. Like I said, the police have been phenomenal working with us. We put a grant together for some of the some surveillance cameras, but this is an opportunity that we have in front of us. So we'd like to, come before you tonight, just have a discussion, then come before you at another time to talk more seriously about it. And then I'm sure there's things I left out, so.
So I'm just going to go over some of the technical nuances as to why this is somewhat timely with us coming forward. So as Mr. Levis said, we do have to complete this application by September 21st in order to move forward. There are a couple of different options for the funding mechanisms. If you look at the page that says funding options on the top, there's 2 examples in there. So one option that we have is basically going through SBA, which is a form of a loan, where we would borrow the money for the project and receive our housing aid share back, and then just be responsible for paying the balance on that loan back. Or we could front the costs, which is option 2, where we would front the full amount and then get the housing aid reimbursement back without going through a financing situation. So that is one component of the cost that is an issue, is that balance outside of the housing aid. And then on the second page, or I'm sorry, the next page, there is a caveat that says, does the LEA have access to a dedicated capital reserve fund? So this is going to be something that this community is going to run into time and again if we don't start establishing a dedicated capital reserve fund. This basically says that in order for us to even receive this money, we have to either have a dedicated cash fund, or we have to have a commitment from the school and the town to establish one, which is where we were kind of looking at maybe repurposing some of those cell tower funds that are there, that had been accumulated both on school committee cell tower, school properties cell towers, and then the municipal cell tower. So that might be an area that some of that cell tower money could be repurposed, the school's portion, to basically dedicate that as a dedicated capital fund. The other reason that this is very important is that we do not have a Stage 2 application completed with RIDE, so normally we would not be eligible to receive any housing aid at all on any projects that are completed. We're working hard to get that Stage 2 application done, which is why we did approve the use of impact fees for the architectural study. However, with this $10.5 million, if it's demonstrated as an emergency, which we do believe a failing intercom system, failing strobe lights should qualify as an emergency system, that housing aid application would be waived for this. So to really leave this opportunity on the table, when otherwise we've been operating for years without receiving that housing aid, would not be in the best interest of our community, of our schools at all. So that's why we felt like we should bring this forward to begin a discussion, and then unfortunately we would have to make a decision, not necessarily at this meeting, but soon, so that we could get the application in by the 21st.
Okay, any questions of the council? I know this is probably the first we're basically hearing of it. We know that there's a need. All it takes is the money. I don't know, our finance director is scheduled to start the day after Labor Day. Should hit the ground running. Where the cell tower money stands, I have no idea, personally.
The last time I looked at that capital of the cell tower reserve fund, somewhere in the vicinity of about 160, 170,000 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that comes out each year to go towards their the funds that they get in their budget as well.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it recently, but it'll be. I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
That and regarding impact fees, how does that stand right now with the town and the school? I know you mentioned the word.
They receive their own portion of the impact fees.
Okay.
To that.
All right. And 55% state funded, so that means 45% would be the town. Of that 45, how much would be coming from the school budget versus our budget, or is it like all of the town, or some of the school, or don't we know right now? Is that?
That's why I propose looking at the cell phone tower, because I recognize, I was at the same meeting where it's not just us, it's the school side. There was no funds allocated for construction, for capital. So I think moving forward, that's why in the update we talked about having a dialogue. We need to do something for both municipal. But this is a timely matter because we have till September 21st.
Right.
And first part is, as Sarah stated, was we have to have an agreement, because we don't have a dedicated capital reserve fund. We have to have an agreement from both the municipal body and from the school department that we will establish one. And I think we probably all agree that it's what we need to establish. The funding right now, we don't have any, we don't have additional. We paid for the fence at Hopkins Hill, that Sand Dune had been there 20 some odd years. We used $36,000, that we didn't have to put that up. We used our impact fees from last year to fix the well that had been, we had trash bags over the water fountains in Western Coventry Elementary for 5 years. So we used the impact fees to fix that. So we don't have, the resources. So that's why we're coming before you, just to have the conversation, because, we're gonna, this is very public right now. People are gonna be looking around the state who's doing what for safety, and we feel it's very important to try to find the resource, and that's why we're coming to you to have a conversation around this. Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, Mr. McGee?
Yeah, we certainly don't want to leave a 55% reimbursement on the table. I mean, we're all about the school safety and doing it. But the fact of the matter is, you guys are 80%, I say you guys, meaning the school department, are 80% of the budget. It can't all be laid on the municipal side. We really have to think out of the box. And I understand, I don't know the status, you mentioned about the cell tower, you're going to look into that. If we can use that money, that would be great. I just don't know where we're going to come up with the money. I think we're probably both going to have to work on, I know you guys are in as tight as budget as we are, but it's like 200,000, 193,000, is a lot of money to come up to when none of us have it. But I certainly think, we need to work on trying to come up with, whether it's a loan or what, we have to sit down, and I look forward to the discussions of setting up some kind of a reserve fund, capital improvement. It's definitely needed. It's been needed for years, but it's the same thing every year. We're in a financial, situation where it's difficult to get it. So I do look forward to sitting down with you and establishing that, but we both have to think out of the box, whether it's some cutbacks. I know you're down to bare bones, but so are we. So we may have to cut something we don't really want, but we need to come up with the money, and we just don't have it. It's either that or the school department side can take a loan out and defer it to next year's budget. I have not had the opportunity to sit down with a town manager or anybody to discuss it, or a finance director coming in, but I think we both have to work very hard, because I don't want to see 55% reimbursement being lost. I really don't.
Mr. McGee, I think the grand total is about 192, so it's half of that. So it'd be
Well, yeah,
about
but I mean, you gotta
95.
initially come up with it, yeah. And
Yeah,
you're gonna,
for the-
Right.
Yeah, you have to come up with it, you're right.
Right.
And that, it all has to be paid up front, and then the state reimburses, is that how it goes?
That's one of the options, or you could go through the SBA, which is a loan option, which is the first
All right.
which is the first option. And just a reminder though, debt service, when we're talking loans like this, usually sits on the town side. So we can start initiating some of that. But even with our one-to-one, our Chromebook initiative, we still had to bring that forward to the town council. So we can make certain steps, but it would still come before you when it comes to a debt service situation. With the COPS grant, I do want to share too that there's a 25% match requirement in that. And the school did say, we will have to find that money. And we kind of structured that grant a little bit unique, where we put fewer costs in year one because the budget had already been done at that point. So our commitment of 25% was less, and we could push the rest off to FY20. But that's another opportunity that we said, in good conscience, we can't leave that on the table given the climate that we're in. And one other point with the capital, again, I'm a resident in this community, so I understand the constraints that are here. However, we now have a state law that we have to start committing 3% of our school's operating budget to capital. That's close to $700,000. Now, I have sent 2 emails to the Department of Ed. I've told the school committee this as well, that I don't understand from a state perspective how you can mandate an expenditure when you don't have a maintenance of effort on your state aid. So we lost $1.2 million in state aid, yet we have to set aside a certain amount of expenditures. The equation doesn't add up that way. So I'm hoping that the funding formula will get looked at again. I can only push that so far. I haven't even gotten a response back from RIDE on those emails. But unfortunately, not funding capital is not an option anymore, especially when it comes to schools. So while I agree that the school is going to have to take a hard look, this is going to have to be something that's a collaborative effort, because there's simply no way that we can add $700,000 to our budget and not come back to the town.
Sarah, that $700,000, though, that will become maintenance of effort money, correct?
It will become like a capital maintenance of effort,
So,
yes.
Yes, because she's mandated it that way. So
Right.
obviously, the first year you have $700,000, and that's going to be compounded every year going forward, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right, there's different
So
ways.
we're going to
Yes.
have a huge leap in the budget because of that.
Yeah.
Plus, then, we've all talked about how, not this budget, but the next budget, when the teacher contract really hits the big time, that your school budget's going to explode. It's going to be huge. And I think we're all concerned how we're going to find the nickels and the dimes that, we're not saying we don't want to do
Right.
this, but obviously, like Mr. McGee said, we have a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers, and you're one of them, I'm one of them, that you can't get blood from a stone.
Right.
And the impact fees, I do have a question about that, though, because it's been my understanding that impact fees go to, say, buying something with a 10-year shelf life. Am I wrong, Nick, on that? You know how we've talked about you can't buy, impact fees can't buy a truck if it's not going to last 10 years. There's restrictions on impact fee spending. So if we're talking about it going towards a report, right, is that doable?
It's an architectural feasibility study.
An architectural
Right.
investigation, study.
Right.
I gave an opinion on this,
Oh.
which I gave an opinion to the police chief when the plans were going forward to build the police station. And that opinion was that architectural fee can be considered payable through the impact fee fund, but the real question is, when it's a bond that's contingent on passage, which the police station was, the real question is, even though it qualifies as an impact fee, what happens if you spend all the money on the architectural fees and the bond fails? And the answer is you have to reimburse it. But the superintendent already acknowledged that they know they would have to reimburse it
Right.
if this bond
Okay.
fails. But, so there's no hard and fast rule on impact fees, except they just have to be related to something that's a capital improvement, and is built, basically built.
Okay.
So I
The
have
other
a question.
do
Oh,
you-
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mr.
I'll
Gorman wants
wait.
to ask a
I'll wait.
question. but go ahead.
No, the other question I had was, you've talked about housing aid. In my understanding, housing aid for, is income-based?
Oh, no.
No, this is different.
Right, so this is to the Department of Ed. So any eligible repairs and maintenance and renovations, if you have a completed application on file, you would receive a certain percentage back. So had we had the application on file when we just did the Western Well repair, we would have gotten 50% of that
I
back.
thought we talked about that you were gonna get reimbursed on that.
No, we did stage 1, but at that time, we didn't have money secured for stage 2 for the architectural study to move forward, which was last year. So we basically have until November this year to get stage 2 in, and if we don't get that in, we won't even be able to really access the big bond money that's coming down through the state for capital projects.
Okay, and this cell phone issue, the cell phone tower issue, it's in their budget. You get money now, correct? Are you saying to us, we owe you more money than that?
So my understanding is that historically, for whatever reason, the school has on average requested about $40,000 a year until this past budget, when I requested the amount that is, I'm sorry, $70,000. That we're annually receiving, which is closer to $90,000. So there were a period of years where the less money was being transferred to the school than what was actually being earned on the cell towers at the schools. So the genesis of my inquiry was how much money had been earned on the school, only the school cell towers, and how much money was actually transferred to the school. And that's where we kind of ran into a little bit of an issue, because the cell tower money for the schools was commingled with the cell tower money for the town. So that was, and in fairness to Mr. Wazika, when we were really pushing this, he did give me the annual amount, which is what I budgeted for this year. But there were a lot of transitions that take place in order to really tear apart that cell tower fund. So our question was, if only a portion had been transferred from what was earned on the school cell tower, could not the balance of that be transferred and dedicated for school construction and to establish that fund so that we're even eligible to take advantage of some of these opportunities?
Is there a written agreement between the town and the school
So-
department?
And that's where we're kind of running into an issue, is while we see references in minutes, because we did go back through town council and school committee minutes, there were references to money being shared. There's no formal written agreement on how that money was to be stipulated. I know our attorney's not here, but I think he might have one opinion on what happens on the property of a school when it's in the care and custody of the school committee. But that is, again, I'm not going to wager into that legal discussion. And honestly, really, honestly, the real intent was to say, we know that we're cash strapped, and if that money is sitting there, and if we can say it was generated on school property, we do see evidence that the large sums of cell tower money had been used for other projects within the town, why not say, let's repurpose some of that and dedicate it so we're at least eligible to take advantage of these opportunities?
I was always under the understanding that it was a shared cost.
There's no formal documents on anywhere. I went through every single contract that we have with cell phone companies. I went through all of the minutes of our meetings. There's reference about it, but there's nothing that's been solidified. And the money has always been whatever the town council gave them each year out of the cell phone account. All of the cell phone tower leases are all signed by the town, not by the school department. They've all been negotiated by the town, not by the school department. And this is something we've discussed you know, but there's nothing in any of this paperwork. In fact, Sarah went through all of it herself, and the same thing. There's nothing there that says 50-50 split if it's on their property or they get all of it. It's never been covered anywhere. The way it's been handled since as long as I've been here is whatever the council gave them. It was at 40,000 at one point. It was actually less than that before the money started to come in a little bit more, and it had moved up to 70,000 a couple of years ago. But that's how it's always been voted on, and the council has always been the ones who determined how much money out of the cell phone tower fund went to the school department.
Well, we had set a precedent, and it's been done like that for years, so I don't think it's unreasonable that the town, if the town's signing for it, that we share in the revenue from it. Yeah, that's all I have right now. I've lost my train of
Okay,
thought.
well, we know that there's a time constraint. We have our next meeting September 10th, and after that it's the 24th, so that'd be past the deadline of the 21st. Mr. Gorham, did you have a question, or has that come and gone that you wanted to ask before others?
I was just
started
looking at
asking questions?
the application that Ms. Mangiarelli talked about, the capital fund application.
Mm-hmm.
It asks whether the LEA, which I guess is the local education agency,
Yeah, that's what I gathered. Is
has
that what it is?
a dedicated capital reserve fund.
All right. Local education
And
agency.
you just need to submit a letter signed by the superintendent and a municipal representative that commits to establishing a capital reserve fund in FY 2019.
Correct.
So we're already in FY 2019.
Correct.
We already had our financial meeting. But all they're looking for is a letter signed by a municipal official, like the acting town manager or the president or a member of the council. So if you had that and we still hadn't agreed on the amount, wouldn't that be sufficient? Because they don't say you have to specify an amount.
Right, I agree. I think it's just that commitment that this community is going to move forward with a capital fund.
So just trying to figure out what we should put on the agenda for the 10th, just to at least discuss it and have a chance at getting
Right,
this
so
done.
that's one portion, but then the actual funding of the project is a second question. So it's really two
Right,
parts.
parts.
Right.
Right, I understand, and that depends on how much you're asking for, the project,
Well, yeah.
and you have it,
Yeah,
and I know you have it.
190.
I know you have it.
192.
That's- So, I'm just saying, I'm trying to simplify what we have to do,
Well,
or better understand what we have to do
I
on
think,
the 10th. It looks pretty simple. We
uh,
just have to establish the fund,
right.
and the actual numbers might, I mean, it's better if we do it all in one meeting, but
Yes. Well, I think, again, you've brought it forward, we'll have it to digest. We have, again, our new finance director will be coming
I
in,
think Ms.
working
Bacon
with...
has a question.
What's that?
Ms. Bacon has
Yeah,
a question.
okay, I won't forget her. As I was saying, we have the finance director coming in next Tuesday, working rapidly along with Mr. Warzika, coming up with a signed agreement to, capital reserve fund of some amount is one thing, but coming up with 193,000, that's the other amount. Question. And if this could all be done and ready by the agenda meeting of Tuesday before our council meeting, we'll try to address it. I can't see how we could promise right now, but certainly we'll look into it. And Mrs. Bacon has a question that I was informed of. Go ahead, Mrs. Bacon.
I was just looking over the SBA Capital Fund. I went on Ride and looked at that today. One of the concerns I have, it says in here, FY 2019 School Building Authority Capital Fund is to address high priority repairs and school safety projects in community with limited financial capabilities. Now, I'm not sure if you have looked at our agenda for tonight's meeting, so that's why I'm a little concerned with this. We have approximately $590,000 in requests for expenditures. And what I can determine, and this will be discussed later on tonight, only $37,000 of that was budgeted for. Everything else is not in our budget. So how is that going to look if these things get passed tonight and with that limited financial capabilities? And I mean, during the budget hearings, even Sarah, I think you had mentioned the average household income is what, like 88,000? We're one of the wealthier communities. So what are your chances of getting something like this if we are spending? I mean, we just had our financial town meeting. We have all these requests coming in, so, and now we've got this also. And the other thing before I forget, all of these documents that you had mentioned, the safety assessment report, the stage 1 application, the copies of all of these estimates from Save Our City and Sonatrol, and any documents that you have regarding the cell phone. Could you give that to town council? I would assume the school committee has all of this and they were able to, but we didn't have any of it. Would we be able to get all of those copies, and so we would have the opportunity to review?
You can just know that that is really a separate process from this. This was money that was released specifically for school safety for all the schools, and the SBA was really just a funding mechanism.
But I would like to
go
see all the
through.
estimates from those
Right,
two
and
companies that you...
But, yeah.
I'd like to just state too is that there's, somebody made a comment about, we got to tighten our belts and I don't know, and I've said this publicly, I've said this in front of you, I don't know how to be more transparent. I wasn't really pleased with the budget process, maybe, with the dialogue. I feel that we have to do a better job. Not grandstanding, not drama, just let's deal with the facts. I don't feel like we did that. I feel like I watched from far when the council, cut $357,000 from our budget within like 2 or 3 minutes you spent 2 hours cutting $200,000. So, but I come here with a positive attitude. This is about safety. We're not coming to you, like I said, we've had a lot of dialogue. We fixed Hopkins Hill playground area, that fence that's been there for 20 years with dollars that we found, that we didn't find, we just had to take. But we also have a school committee that's fiscally responsible. So I feel that, you can have whatever documents you want. I feel very comfortable that we've been extremely transparent. We have an incredible finance director. And I feel that our school committee has been very responsible. So
Well, I don't take it as an insult.
We need to start the dialogue because this is about school safety.
I guess my question is, so school safety, I have to say, I would have liked to have had this discussion, school safety, seen the report in executive session. I don't feel comfortable asking any questions about school safety and jeopardizing the safety of our students, faculty, anyone who's up visiting our school. I don't feel comfortable talking about that. That should be a priority. That should just be with our police department. So, but with that being said, you said that you have a report. When did you receive the report? I know that the town also did some sort of, it was a shared effort.
Right.
When did the town, Ed, when did the town receive these reports?
I have never received the one for the town. I haven't personally received it. I don't know if the former town manager got it or where it went to. I've never seen it.
So when did the school receive theirs?
I don't know at the top of my head when we received the report, to be honest with you. Maybe
We received
June.
an interim report that was not a detailed report.
Right. And I, in terms of what goes on the municipal side, I know this is something that we've talked about. We talked about it in executive session, but again, we're coming here before because this is a document that we need to, process that we need to secure. And I am adamant about the dialogue piece that, we need to talk about, together and come up with a plan, because there is no plan for this community as far as I see. We have buildings that are falling apart, and we have incredible facilities, individuals that are taking care of our buildings. But at some point, somebody, whether it's me or someone else, is going to come before you, and we're not going to have a choice. We're going to have a school that we can't start school with. And so we have to start, and in the report it said a long-term plan, but we don't seem to have dialogue, and that we need to start that process. So I respect your opinion.
With all due respect, I asked you last budget session, and I asked you this budget session for a detailed list of each school, what needs to be worked on, and you had not worked on that. So I did ask. So
no, you first of all, Ms. Bacon, though, you were going to meet with us, and you chose not to meet with us. Second of all, when you asked, you asked for $5 million for our Jacobs report, that's $60 million. You wanted me to break that down, and what I said publicly was, we come before you with a detailed capital improvement list every single year and it hadn't been funded. So we're going to start there. And I said, when we start coming together and put some money into capital, because we know we're not going to come up with $60 million. And I said that publicly here.
And I've publicly asked, I would assume, Jason Martin, you probably have a very good idea what is wrong with each school. So just asking for a detailed report would be very helpful.
You have the Jacobs report that lists everything in detail.
That's not a report that you...
Report. That's
That's not Jason's report. Jason works in these
It's not
schools.
generated locally.
I'm not gonna ask Jason to come through and produce 60 million until we can come with a dialogue about even putting money into capital. We can't receive the money to replace a retaining wall at our middle school that's been in need of repair for how many years? So that's what I'm saying, is like, let's be realistic and let's start a dialogue first and come up with a plan.
But we can talk and talk and talk. And I'm sorry, but, you know, I asked you also, is there a 5-year plan for this? I've seen the Jacobs report. You gave me a copy when it first came out, and I
Right.
appreciate that. But really, that's a RIDE report. I want to see something that we have generated locally, because I personally would never vote to give you a penny if I don't know exactly where it's going. I can't do that. It's just like with the town. I can't do that. I can't.
But we've
I have to
given
have
those
backup. I
capital
have to
lists.
know where it's going, and I think it's going to have to be done, whether it's individual schools or or we consolidate and become a campus town where we have a campus. Those things have to be thought about, and we're wasting time here. We've got to get going on it. So if you want to call it a dialogue, that's fine, but I think then I would love it if you could come to the council and give us something to start with.
Just out of curiosity, the capital request that the school sends the town manager every year, does that come to the council or does it stop at the town manager's office? Because my understanding is that we do send a capital list every single year as part of the budget process, so I'm just curious if that gets to the council level, if it stops at the town manager. Because that would be the start of the list internally. The architectural feasibility study that we're doing right now is the next internal layer, because to ask, well, Mr. Martin can go through and say, these are all the areas that are wrong. The feasibility study done by a professional is really what needs to take place. Most schools around the state have done this years ago. We're one of the last schools in the state that doesn't have this here. So with all due respect, we're really trying to push this forward, and it's very hard to do it with zero capital funds. And I understand that you have $595,000 coming to request. This was not on the table during the financial budgeting process, nor was the requirement for capital funds. So unfortunately, we're trying to scramble as much as possible, but we have an opportunity here, and it is surrounding school safety. So I think this was more to be, let's get this conversation started. If you don't get those reports that are sent to the town manager every single year at the budget process, I will gladly make sure that we send them to you, because that has the same equipment list on there that's been on there for about the past 5 years that hasn't been funded. So we haven't put a lot of effort into going further because the identified items have not been funded to this point either.
Okay, well, again, we've been giving these figures, and we have a short time to come up with if we can help. We appreciate it. I know that timeliness was a factor. That's why I decided to put it on the agenda for discussion. And certainly we've had discussion on it. You know, everyone wants school safety. If we can somehow put our thinking caps on, and whether it's the cell tower fund or whatever, to come up with this money and sign an agreement that we're working towards establishing a capital fund, I'm for it. It's just where the money's going to come from. I think every year we do get a capital request from the department heads and the school. It's just that every year we haven't been able to accommodate any department and the school. And even still, our budget passing was right up to the max this last time. Even adding a couple $100,000 to the school would just made it. And you know, if there was more money, that'd be great, but there hasn't been. So I know this wasn't part of the budget process, but we'll look into it. And you know, you've certainly discussed it with us tonight. And again, I can't say on behalf of myself that we can make any promises, but I promise we'll look into it, and in a timely fashion. And we would like to think we might be able to get something on the agenda for the 10th of September. And I don't see an emergency meeting before now, and the meeting after Labor Day, to be honest with you. But I think we'll make an effort to try to get it on for the 10th. And where we go from there, I'm sure there'll be phone calls in between coming from the town and you folks. as to how the process is going, or if it's not going. All righty? And,
I just have one
yes,
question.
one other comment?
Question. Well, what's the timetable on a reimbursement for this? Is it within this fiscal year? In other words, or what is the timetable on that?
Usually these projects are 1 year, so we would receive those funds in the next fiscal year.
All right, so if we were to put that in, it wouldn't fall through in this
Correct.
fiscal? Okay.
All right.
Now, again, I will follow up to confirm, because this is kind of like this special bucket of money that they came up with. So I will confirm that that is the reimbursement schedule, but usually it's a subsequent year.
Okay.
Sarah, is it guaranteed that we would get this money, or is it you just apply and you wait to see? Would you hear back, or is it guaranteed you would receive this
The
money?
housing aid
Yes.
or the
No,
loan?
The reimbursement.
The reimbursement is a guaranteed. And again, this, I specifically asked because usually Coventry isn't eligible for a reimbursement. So I did specifically ask to say, with this 10.5 million, are we going to be allowed to even get that reimbursement? And they said yes, as long as we can prove that it's an emergency safety capital
Okay.
repair.
Makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Well, thank you very much for coming out tonight, and we'll get back to you as fast as we can on this. Okay, yes, Mr.
If I
McGee.
may, we have some people from a building committee that are out here on their own time. I was wondering if we could push their item on
Okay.
the agenda up, so, I appreciate their time they spend with us, and we don't want them to be sitting here till 10 o'clock. This is gonna be a lengthy meeting, and is it unreasonable to ask that we move up, I believe it's item D7.
D7.
If we could push that up so that we could kindly
Okay.
get the building committee out of here, that would be appreciated.
I'm okay with that. How's the majority of the council, yes?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, why don't we do that then? What we'll do is,
Need a motion for that or no?
do we need a motion to move it up?
No.
Okay, so we'll just stop after A6, and we will jump to D7, if we can grab that handy. I think we have a D7. Yes, we do.
Yes, we
It
do.
was just
Okay.
put out before us tonight. So, good evening, Mr. Finnegan, how are you, sir? Yes, that was a good suggestion, and I'm glad to oblige. How do we start? Would it be you addressing, or is it on this resolution that was put before us, Mr. Gorham?
I believe the resolution was presented, and what I heard from the town manager was there might be a few questions. Is on?
No, press it forward.
Oh, there you go, sorry about that. That some council members may have some questions, so I
I
wasn't
think,
sure.
I think it's the first time I've seen it tonight.
Okay.
Just, again, unless I didn't get it in my package, or unless,
We were working on this whole thing,
Yeah.
up until Friday to finalize everything on it.
okay, so, first we've seen it.
Okay.
Right now. So I guess, how do we start? Is it
So
Mr. Finnegan, or is it Mr. Gorham, I'm asking? Who would, start this, introduction on the matter of D7?
I think it's appropriate to allow Mr.
Okay, Mr. Finnegan,
Okay.
if you could.
So this issue was the ball field behind the public safety complex.
Right.
That on the original scope of work, it was not identified that when the building was upgraded for the sewer work, that the town ordinance says that the entire property has to be connected to the sewer, and that any existing septic systems need to be disconnected. So after the design work was done for the building, and the architect finished their work, and the scope of work went out, and the contracts were evaluated, this came up when we went for approval through the sewer committee to finalize the application to the West Warwick Sewer Commission, Sewer Authority. So there was much discussion back and forth trying to get to the bottom of what we needed to do, and there is about a $100,000 expense to tie the ball field system into the rest of the property. In working with the town manager over the last week, we broke out what it would cost to connect, to get a line from the building to off-site over to the ball field, a dry line, we're calling it, so that in the future, the town can connect the ball field into that system, and it won't cause any disruption to tearing up the brand-new parking lot or any work that we're doing on the police and the human services building. And that came to about a $30,000 expense to get it over there, ready to be tied in on the ball field side.
Right.
So what the town manager and the building committee negotiated or talked about and felt was fair was to take the $30,000 and have half of that from the town and half of that from the building bond committee, bond money rather. And the justification there the building committee felt that it was fair to get that off of the property so that the town can just connect the ball field, and in the interest of the taxpayers, we certainly don't want to
Dig up a
tear
new
up
highway, yeah.
and undo anything that we're doing right now, so.
Okay.
That's
All
where
right.
we're at.
Mr. Warzika, I know you have a little bit more to add on this.
There's 400 feet of brand-new asphalt that's going down, so
Right.
the whole object was to prevent that from being done up.
Torn back up.
Also, by doing it this way, we are in total compliance with the sewer subcommittee.
Right.
We do not need, in the past couple of meetings ago, they came before you Mr. Finnegan came before you to get a waiver on this connection because of the issue. It was holding up the building permits.
Right.
This solution eliminates all of the problems. The plans are sufficient to the sewer subcommittee. I passed them on to Glenn Skirka. He had given me that they met what he needed. So those are all satisfied, so it doesn't require that we try to give ourselves a waiver on any of this. This is all by the book, done the way it needs to be done. We get the dry line in, so upon completion of the project, we can then make the connection for the ball field to this line. One of the problems with this is the current septic system is located underneath the infield of the ball, which requires the entire infield to be ripped up,
Yeah.
the backstop to be ripped down, and a lot of extensive rework done when this is over. All of this which can be done through Parks and Rec and DPW instead of having a vendor do it. The estimate I got from the vendor is about $30,000 to $35,000 on the rework on that alone. Kevin also feels that the other $30,000 to do the actual connection wouldn't be that much. It seems to be a little inflated.
Reasonable, yeah.
And it shouldn't be anywhere near that kind of money to get it done. But this piece needs to be done.
Right.
It satisfies all aspects of the sewer. It allows the building committee to get to go in front of them on the 11th, get their authorization, come back here, get it finalized in town, and then at the same time, getting all of this done. And it's fair to split this between Parks and Rec. We'll be picking up out of their agency fund to cover their $15,000. If you can get that low, it'd be great.
Yeah.
And then $15,000 from the building committee to pay for the other piece of this. I know it's semantics. It's all coming from town money,
Right.
but it's splitting up the cost so it's not being hit on any one. Gets it done, gets the project while it's moving, and doesn't delay the building or what's going on over at that site.
Okay.
Mr. President, if I
Yes.
may just add something before, because it might answer some questions. I spoke to Mr. Finnegan earlier today, and according to your rules and regulations, the sewer subcommittee, we do not have to tear that infield up. The engineering company can put a request in to tie the roof drains from the concession stand into that septic system. Clean water will be going in there. That will be an exemption. You won't have to tie it up as long as we're utilizing it strictly for rainwater, runoff water to go into it. So that's going to be a big savings to us. As you're talking $30,000, we really don't. If you put the request in, have your engineering company put the request in to get that exemption, they do that with the sewer
Well,
subcommittee.
we would do that after this is complete.
But I mean, that
on
would be
us,
a
but
less
yes.
money, so I think a lot of these prices that are given is really just start out, you know? I mean, I don't think we're
Exactly.
gonna spend near as much money as that.
Exactly.
We've been scrambling around trying to get to the bottom of this for a few months.
Yeah, I know
Right,
we have,
and
yeah.
you're
Mr.
we're wasting a lot of
Wazika,
time.
He got deep into this the last couple of weeks, which got us this far into it, or through it. And I think that once that line gets brought over, there's very few appliances that have to be tied into that sewer line. And your point about the infield, yeah, that would dramatically reduce
Sure.
any additional expense that the town will have to incur to connect that ball field. So if the town can work that out, that would be a great savings.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
You know how I feel about this. So my issue is we're pissing away money out of the bond money. We have a $12 million bond. We've spent money, if I'm not mistaken, to move DHS that we didn't know we were going to have to do, correct?
No, the bond money.
Bond money.
Bond money.
Bond
That's what
money
I'm talking
was
about,
that,
out of
yeah.
the bond money.
Yep.
The $12 million bond, which will then morph into $16 million before it's paid off, but that's not your problem. Number two, we moved the school buses, and we used bond money, correct?
Yes.
We bought a pop-up tent.
Bond premium money, yes.
Bond
Not
premium
out of
money.
the actual bond.
No,
out of
but
the
bond premium money that could have gone towards the building and not been used for other things. So I just really, as a taxpayer and as a council member, I don't understand why it is August 20-something, 7th, and we are now discussing, not your problem, this ball field issue. I'm pretty sure that 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago, when the DHS director was driving this train to get this building renovation done, the sewer subcommittee should have known that this was in back, because I know I asked about Wood Street ball field when it came to the road that we then found out could not be done to Sandy Bottom. I mean, where does it stop? Do we keep going every month and keep spending money out of their money that they need to build this building and get everything done?
I mean, you have,
Where does it
Well,
stop? How many more
will say-
surprises do we, not your fault, Mr.
No,
Finnegan.
I'm not taking it personally, but I'm very close to the project.
I know
And
you
there
are.
have not been, with the exception of the DHS move, which was approved to be moved out of the bond money, and you may not like that, but DHS did have to move, so it had to
True,
get paid for.
but we should have known that.
Okay, that's up to you.
And we
to
should have
discuss.
budgeted for it, and we should have budgeted for this,
So-
and we don't seem to be, not your fault, doing a very good job of knowing what else could possibly pop up out there.
well, on this piece of it, nothing else good, because we're finalizing it and getting it
No,
done.
this piece,
This
now we
piece.
have another piece.
I only can deal with what has been dumped into my lap, and that's
I
what I'm doing,
understand
and that's
that,
what I'm
and
doing.
I'm only
Why
looking at
it
you
wasn't-
'cause
I
you're
know that,
sitting
I know
there,
that,
you
I
know, and
understand
that's
it.
the-
But why it wasn't done before, I don't know. I can't give you an answer, I don't think Mr. Finnegan can give you an answer. It wasn't, we're fixing the problem, and we're trying to come up with a solution that's most cost-effective, equitable to everyone, gets the job done, and does it the right way without, without any kind of, everything being out in the open.
Well,
in,
If I
You
can
know,
just
and I
say
look
something
at-
on that.
just
Okay, I
one
might
second.
answer your
So
question.
I'm looking at this from Jared, this email from Jared, and it says, Jared Nunes, RT Nunes Company, who has the contract, which was awarded by Rouse, not by the town. Total $96,052. Again, this is conceptual pricing. There were assumptions made in this tabulation. These prices are subject to change based upon final design. Well, right now we're at 96.
That's in the system.
And obviously, there's always changes to designs, whether it's a house or a septic or a building. I just see us coming up short at the end when the PD or the DHS needs something. I'm really concerned.
This 30,000 of this is part of this on the dry line.
Right.
So it says 96, 30's already being, hopefully less. 30's
But you
gonna be.
didn't know about
30
this 96, did you? Until recently?
That's correct.
So that's $100,000.
We just got this. We just got this.
$100,000.
I understand that. We're trying to minimize that cost by doing it a different way, but getting it done correctly. And that's what we're doing.
No, can I
Well,
make a
maybe,
point
but
on
I
that?
think we're just not spending our money,
Well,
not
well,
that we,
I think
I mean, we're
just-
coming
just
up to
to-
between a rock and a hard place where all of a sudden everybody's going,
To
oh, we
pot-
gotta do this,
to
we gotta do that,
potentially
we gotta
help-
spend that.
To potentially help clarify it, the 96 is what I believe to be a high estimate. The point that Mr. McGee made, that we could tie in the downspouts, did you already make that point? Did you say that tonight, or have you? Okay. So, if the town is able to do that, and they don't have to rip up the infield, and DPW can perform some of that work, getting the line out, off of the DHS and police department is gonna be the biggest expense. So this is the most economical way to get that done today and in the future. So,
Can I
But
just
you may
make-
not-
This is your budget, and I know how good you are because I worked with you on the building committee for the schools. And I know what an excellent job you and Heatherman do. Does this not bother you that now
course
there's
it
another
does.
$100,000 out there?
But we can't stop the wheels of we have to get this project not held up. We
right.
have 348 days left to go, and we're gonna hit that timeline, and
Are you gonna run short?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you've been trying to say
First of all, I don't know
something.
anybody any more frugal than Mr. Finnegan. He's gonna get it done at the right price. We stated right at the beginning that don't come to us for a penny more than the bond issue. This is something that the voters have approved on. To put the blame on the sewer subcommittee isn't fair because the blame belongs to the engineering company who by contract is supposed to know the rules and regulations of the town when designing their plan. They didn't know. This wasn't something that the sewer subcommittee created. This was a standing rule and regulation that the sewer subcommittee had and that they did not follow. So in my opinion, the engineering company should assume the responsibility because they're the ones that messed up not knowing the rules and regulations that we have. So, I mean, it's not Mr. Finnegan's fault, but like I do blame the engineering company, but all these expenses that have come out of the bond are necessary expenses that have to do with the contract. Moving a DHS, you made a point, there was a few different, a tent that we had. That's things that the town has to do, and it's caused by this project. So I think a lot of this was known. I mean, I don't know whether they knew it was going to come out of the bond, but we knew we had to move, after, not initially. Initially, the plan was to repair the building right there and leave the DHS there. But these are all expenses that,
That was never the plan of the building committee, but I don't know
Right,
what
the plan
your
was
plans were.
originally, when they come up with all the asbestos and lead and so on and so forth, it decided it was in the best interest to move it, expedite the building of it. So these are expenses that, and of course, I don't like it either, but, they're part of building the project. I mean,
It's a work in progress, and that's
Yeah.
it. You don't know everything as you're going through it, and you have to get through it, and you have to get it done, and this is the best alternative economically, and between the building committee and Edward Zika, our acting town manager, this is the best possible plan to proceed. And you said 300 and how many days left? That's making me nervous.
300 and
Mike.
something.
300 and how many?
348.
Okay.
Well, who
all
would
right. Every
think that
day
you
counts.
had to connect the baseball
I think-
field, though, right?
Right, nobody thought you had to connect the baseball field. I mean, who
And
would
do we
think?
really have to?
Well, I voted not to, and I had 4 votes against me, as we recall. What was it, a couple meetings ago?
No, that was the
yeah.
waiver, yeah.
No, it was a waiver not to connect. All right, so let's go on to this. Let's get it done. I don't know if there's any other questions. Go ahead,
Yes,
Mrs.
I
Bacon.
do.
All right.
At the Central Coventry Fire District Board meeting on July 19th, they mentioned that they will be charging the town $42,000 for a fire district plan approval. How's that being paid?
That's in the,
Because
general
first,
contractor has that in his bid already.
Okay.
And we are negotiating
No, that's,
to.
okay.
no, I know it's not, but
All
I
right.
mean, it's
So
one
it's
of those.
not for
but we do-
discussion.
But we do need to bring this up. We
No,
were talking about
not tonight.
unexpected.
The trouble is that if we start discussing something that's
Okay.
not on the agenda,
Okay.
it's
That's a
not
problem.
what
all
we're
right, then I
supposed
do
to
have
be
a,
doing.
what is on the
Not
agenda?
by my choice. I'm
Okay,
just-
no, that's fine. I do have
I
a
have to
question.
advise you
It's
on
right in the
on
resolution.
the Open Meetings Act,
Okay, I do have,
You know, when we're-
it's written in the resolution, so.
what
The
what is
fif-
written in the resolution?
No, I have another question. It is,
All right.
it is in the resolution. The 15,000 that's coming from Parks and Rec. Where is that coming? Out of Parks and Rec? How-
Agency fund, agency fund.
What is an
The
agency
agency
fund?
fund is a little piece of every program, every fee that's paid goes into this fund, and it's used to, it's been around for about 20 years, and it's used to purchase things that are maybe over and above,
Unforeseen.
unforeseen, and stuff with the Parks and Rec department.
Okay, how much is in the agency fund?
Approximately $200,000 on the last time I looked at it.
Oh, Raina's saying
What's
something
that, Raina?
different.
Come up to the mic.
Come to
Come
the
up.
mic if you got a question.
No.
So the agency is a checking account, and that has approximately 63,000. The 200,000 is funneled through our programs. It's another account. It's called like My Rec account that gets like held in a transportation fund that at the end of the fiscal year we distribute amongst the other funds to replenish them. from our activities. So
Okay.
currently, there is approximately 63 in the agency account.
The agency fund has 63.
And then how much in the other one? 200 in the other?
So it's actually been distributed or about to be distributed. So it goes through payback, almost $100,000 from our summer camp for the next fiscal year, for the next summer. Some of it goes to repay everything from, let's just say, camp T-shirts or basketball T-shirts that we expended those funds for.
Okay, so you have 63,000. So I guess my question also is, this, connecting the ball field will bring additional expenses, the sewer usage fees to Parks and Rec. So my question is, do we even need to have the bathroom facilities at Wood Street? Has anyone even thought about that? I mean, I had
We've looked at the idea of just eliminating it. That field gets used constantly. That is according to Raina, it's a very popular field, that gets a lot of use.
And I understand that, and you can come up, yes.
Please.
And I understand all about baseball.
That's the Little League field, and
Yep.
that's where they hold all their district games.
Mhm. I'm
I
well
know
aware.
the town, just before I came, invested a lot of money into that field and expanding it. So
Who
they
did?
can-
I'm sorry.
The town, I think,
Okay.
not myself,
Okay.
invested a lot of money, and as well as League invested at least $30,000 of their own funds in that field.
Mhm.
It's also where we have the concession, so there is a need for.
It's well used, I think
Yeah.
we were just
It-
made New England champions, so, okay,
And I
let's get on with it,
understand that,
all right?
Well, no, but I mean, the
Well,
fact
not
of the
rude,
matter
but
is.
I think we're
this is-
beating I
No,
know
it's not a dead horse.
All right,
but
go
it-
ahead, ask a question.
But I really, we're gonna be spending how much total for how many bathrooms and how many sinks? Two toilets, two sinks?
2 sinks.
And we're gonna be spending 35,000?
30 to get the line to the edge of the ball field property,
Yeah.
and then somewhere between 0 and 60 more to connect it.
And to connect, and then you'll have the sewer usage fees for a field that is used, about 6 months out of the year.
That's correct.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and I understand, I'm all for. I had a son that played Little League, AAU, and Division I baseball, so I have spent many, many hours at baseball fields. Many of those fields did not have bathrooms, so what did you do? You went to the local establishments, purchased a coffee, and used the ladies' room. So I just see spending possibly $100,000 for a ball field. Now, what happens if that ball field in 2 years is no longer used? Now we've spent all that money. So that's why I'm a little concerned that why do we even need to connect? And has that even been discussed? Was that ever discussed at the building committee? Because I was not at the meeting.
The only people that can make that decision are the sewer subcommittee and the town council. I brought it up for 2 months, and I can't get an answer, so the town manager advanced it to this point, and we need to make a decision, because we have contractors and engineers that need to move forward. So I hear what you're saying, but that's up to the town council to make that decision.
Again, I think it was perception. The sewer subcommittee, we had our leader here saying that it should be done. I questioned it, but in perception, we all, the majority voted not to have a waiver and to get it done. And now everybody's kind of backpedaling a little bit. Yeah, a waiver is not to have it done. All right? And
No.
not to have the hookup.
Oh, the waiver was
Yeah.
to not connect it, that's
Right.
That's right.
Right, and
nobody-
again, we had 4 no's. The thing is not to hold up the project, all right? Everybody says, do it, hook it up, now we got it in front of us. Now, what's all the questions? I mean, Nick, I got a question. Did you write up this resolution?
I
Did
did
you
not.
help? Oh, who did?
No, I did almost nothing. I did nothing
Well,
with
who
it.
did?
Mr. Warzika. He does an excellent
Okay,
job.
all right,
writing
I'm
resolutions.
just asking. So it's, you have read it, have you not?
Yeah.
All right, so
I sent him an email
it's
saying,
articulate?
I
Okay.
actually sent him an email
Okay.
saying he missed his calling.
All right, so that's good, and we have it in front of us to vote. And we can talk about it for the next 2 hours, or we can vote on it. Any other questions about what we have in front of us?
I
Mr.,
make a motion to pass the resolution.
do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, let's get the project going. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3-2. To get it going. Thank you, Mr. Fagan.
Thank you very much.
We will try to keep the cost down to the best of our ability. And God bless those toilets and sinks and New England champs. All right, next. Let's go back now to A7. We're back on the regular start from the agenda. We have an update from our town planner, Caroline Wells. Good evening. You have been asked to come give us an update, and I thought we'd oblige.
Yeah, it's a good time for it.
Okay.
Okay, so I did send you a memo, and I'm actually just going to reiterate what I wrote in my memo in case, you didn't memorize it. So we've had a lot of activity since January when I last came to update you on the comp plan. We've more or less finished all of our draft maps and our data updates. We had actually done that in the fall. We held 5 different workshops or listening sessions since May 16th when we kicked off the comp plan workshop with the town. And that we've had probably in total attendance, I'm going to say maybe 130 people out of all the workshops, maybe a little bit more. And also we put out a survey, an online survey. We've received about 330 responses for that. And it's actually, I'll put out that full, the results of it. And a lot of the, there's obviously what you would expect, a lot of sarcasm and such, but there's actually a lot of good feedback too. I think a lot of people put some thought into it. We set up a website at coventrycomplan.weebly.com, free. And also started a distribution list for anybody who'd like to receive email updates. They can either go to that website and fill out a form and they'll automatically be signed up, or they can email me at cwells@coventryri.org and I will sign them up on the list. Right now we have about 120 subscribers, more or less. And those go out every month. So what that does is just tell you any workshops that are coming up, where we are in the process, how much longer it is to go. As I said, we've had pretty good feedback. Kind of some different things as you might expect. District 1 is a little different from what you might expect in our more urban areas, but I think there are some common themes too that will really build upon the final plan, which is kind of good. And for our next steps, once we finish our District 3 workshop on Wednesday at 6:30 at Club Joe, we are going to kind of get into that really intensive work session. So a lot will be going on, and I actually don't have that schedule clarified right now. I'm going to meet with the consultants in the next week and set that up. Part of it is meeting with our department heads, so I have Parks set up, but I'm still working on a lot of the others. And we're taking all of the data that they've accumulated and all of the community feedback that we've accumulated and kind of putting it together, looking for common themes, looking for realistic goals, and we'll put together a draft in coordination with our department heads. And once we have that, it'll go to the committee, probably piecemeal, for each section. The committee will kind of give their thoughts and we'll revise accordingly. Then it'll go to the Planning Commission for their review, and they'll give us their feedback as well. So it's actually, it's just tedious, hard work at this point of developing those drafts. I do anticipate that we could possibly have a joint meeting with the Town Council and the Planning Commission when we get closer to the end stages, just so that we're not going back and forth on things too much. But all in all, that's the process thus far. In terms of billing and expenditures, if you recall, the contract was originally more or less set at $60,000, and they were prepaid back in 2017, or even 2016. So they've been working off of that prepayment for a while. In the spring, it became clear that I was handling a lot of the outreach, and so I talked them down on that to about $50,000. And we paid them an additional $10,000 out of last year's fiscal budget. So that leaves $10,000 for this year's fiscal budget for a total of $50,000. We won't pay that final $10,000 till we actually have an approved plan. So any questions?
Any questions?
We had we had a lot of people at
Yeah.
District 1 meeting, which was great, and I know I got feedback afterwards, and there were a lot of concerns that the current overlays that are in the comp plan, the maps, that there are problems with them, they're not accurate.
Yeah.
Are you going to reach out to residents out in my neighborhood that have the history and they know what things should look like?
Well, I don't know which residents those are.
No, I
so
know, but I
can't-
mean, I can tell you who, I won't do it now, but I could
Sure,
give
you can pass
some
it on.
names.
If somebody has some additional information that would indicate that something in our maps are inaccurate, and by the way, the draft maps are on that website, so they are open for review, although they're not as easy to see as I would like. They can definitely contact me and we can talk about it. And also, I need to sit down with Chris Mason, our map guy, and really just go through each. There's a lot of maps, as you might expect, and so going through those and ensuring they're accurate.
Okay, because I will, I'll put this information out in my newsletter, and then, you know, I'll give you some names of people that I think you ought to really talk to.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Caroline. That was the same I had during the District 5 meeting. The map that you had laid out, I think that a lot of folks pointed out that one of the areas that was open space in our, you know, the comp plan, but the map that you have is now industrial. So I just want to make sure that these maps say open space, and if they are actually industrial, when did they become industrial, to have that historical?
Yeah, and I actually had that on my to-do list to try and figure out when that town council approval was. The maps that I brought to the meetings, though, are not actual comp plan maps. They're just maps that I generated off of our GIS. So,
Okay.
just FYI.
All right, yeah, I mean, I have, and, you know, if you want, I can, if you need any questions, if you have any questions, I can.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Will
you.
do. Okay, sounds good. Anything else?
Okay, any other questions from the council? If not, thank you for coming out tonight
Yeah,
and giving
well,
us the
I've got the
update.
next item, too.
Oh, you do have, yes, blue skies. All right, didn't mean to have you sit down. Okay, we're on to B now, B1.
Yeah.
Which we all have before us. And go right ahead then.
Okay, sure. This is a bit of a screw-up. So we have Reed Schoolhouse, and we have a grant and a town match on that work, which was basically painting. It was a $26,404 grant with a $15,404 town match for a total project budget of $41,808. So the first issue is that when I presented to council on this, I presented the total project budget as $41,000, and it's actually captured in the resolution, but that's not the contract amount. The contract amount was the bid amount for $31,000. So there's a $10,000 gap, and the way I presented it to council is because that's grant, we're going to use that to do additional extra good work on the Reed Schoolhouse. We're not going to just give the grant back. So part of it is the contract just didn't reflect the total budget amount correctly. The second issue is that I overran the total budget in the amount of about $2,000, and it was just a quick decision I had to make while the crew was mobilized on site, which is the two outhouses in the back. And the front that gets the sun was in really bad condition, much worse than we had, and that was the last part we did. So the front needed a lot more repair work than was anticipated, plus the two outhouses in the back, one of which is historic and the other which is not, were not in the original scope of work. So I had some grant money left, and the crew was there, and they said, "Do you want these painted or not? We're leaving today." And I just said, you know, I thought I had the money in my professional services budget, thanks to my savings on the comp plan. This is last budget year. So I said, let's do it, because if we have two white outhouses and one cream-colored schoolhouse, I'm going to hear about it. So that's basically the story behind that, but that invoice has not been paid, of course, because I'm now over the budget. So that's why I'm here.
So it is coming out of professional services?
I hope so, yes.
Okay.
And can I go into Yeah, okay, yeah, because when I talked to, it was actually Manager Delaney at the time, and he said that it could be encumbered out of that savings that I had out of last fiscal year's budget.
And just so everybody knows, we're discussing the payment of the final invoice from Blue Skies for $2,063 from the professional services account for
Correct.
Root Schoolhouse. Okay.
Okay, does that need a vote, Counselor, on that?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
All right, just a vote to authorize
That's all right.
the spending then. Okay, right.
I just wanted to ask if the work is all completed to your satisfaction.
Well, I've actually just talked to the contractor this evening. I did notice some of the tannins coming through on the rear and west side, so he's actually coming back to retouch. So
do
maybe
we
it's not
wanna
the
make
worst thing that
sure
we
that-
haven't paid this.
We want to make sure it's done before we make final payment? to them?
Correct, but I
Okay.
still need your authorization as
Okay.
soon as possible.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I had heard that there was some, bleeding through and something that they needed to come back and do that.
Yeah, I didn't see the bleeding
again-
through, but I did see the tannins, and I
Well,
took pictures,
again, I haven't seen it
so-
myself, I just got a couple
Yeah.
of calls saying that there was a problem.
Yeah,
That,
they're gonna come
and
back.
that our DPW director was aware of it, but he's not here tonight, so, and I hadn't heard from him. I guess is he still on vacation? I don't know if he's.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I did talk to Mark
No,
Robitaille
I don't
about it,
know,
yeah.
but yeah, normally, they said the final pay, because this would constitute final payment, would it not?
It would indeed.
Yeah, usually, when there's, all the work is done before a final payment is tendered.
Yeah.
Well, we can direct the
Right.
director not to make that actual, just approve it, not to make that actual
Right.
payment until
Right.
everything is done to your satisfaction.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, actually, the
Exactly.
time gap, it was a couple of months ago when this actually occurred, and the time gap has actually allowed us to see how the
Yes,
paint is
actually, it was a good thing.
weathering.
Good thing. All right, so I'll entertain a motion at this time to authorize the additional spending of, $2,063?
Yes.
From professional services, once the job has been totally okayed.
Who's gonna sign
And who's
off?
going to sign off?
Yeah.
Would that be our town manager, or?
Well, I sign off on the invoice, and then it
You
goes
do.
to the, yeah, it goes to finance.
Okay, all right.
So
Do I have a okay,
So
motion
moved.
made, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2, B2.
Can we actually move,
We could. What do you need?
B4 up?
B4. B4. Okay, yes, why not?
Yeah.
Because he's gonna have to do B2.
I see, that's true. B4 before B2. All right, that makes sense. Okay, Mr. Worzika, I'll let you lead in on this one then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last Monday, we had our new tax assessor, Christopher Celeste start.
Yes.
Chris is a member of the Rhode Island Assessors Association, and he's also a Rhode Island certified assessor. And he's got his degree is in civil engineering from URI.
Very good.
Chris was the former civil engineer for Woonsocket and then became the tax assessor there from 2010 to about 2014. At that point, he ended up going to Warwick, and he was there till late 2017. And the last couple of months before joining us, he's been with Citizens Financial Group. Chris was responsible for streamlining and modernizing a lot of the problems that Warwick had when he got there. He cleaned up a lot of old lawsuits, as well as a backlog of appeals that were sitting around. So I think he's going to be a great addition already in the short time he's been here. There's been some big improvements already, and best part, everybody seems to get along well with him. He's got a good personality.
Very good, very good. Well, we have the information in front of us tonight, and I have had the honor of meeting Mr. Celeste earlier last week when Tasha was still on base here. She spoke highly of you as well, and I know it's a learning curve. Every town and every city is different. So you're back again for week 2, so that's an encouraging sign. Any additional questions of the council? If not, I guess is a motion, oh, come on forward, yeah. Otherwise, then we'll make a motion to approve, right?
Yes.
No, I think it's in the town charter, isn't it?
Well, I was informed that you guys, that the council has to just authorize after the hire.
Approved by, yeah, after
Approve
the
after the hire.
Well, we have a lot of faith in Mr. Wazika's
Yes, we
choice,
do.
and he speaks very highly of us, so I want to welcome you aboard.
But I
Thank
did
you.
read the chart. I think I stuck out in my mind. I said, well, why the one position that
Yeah.
the council has to approve, and this is it. So anyhow, yes, well, yes, first we want to hear from you, or do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm glad to be here and look forward to, trying to do what I do and try to get this office, a little more efficient, a little more modernized. And, you
good.
used to find these town halls and sometimes they've been run the same way for a long time and fresh set of eyes and, just try to do my best to, of course, take care of the taxpayers is the number one goal, really. That's really what we're all here for, and just get everything working properly. And I do try to get along with everybody, so apparently I am doing that, which is good.
Now, you live in Johnston, so
I do.
coming down traffic, what, 290?
No,
you
I
come
take
down
116, it's
116
great,
all the way,
yeah.
good.
I don't have to go
That's
on the
not
highway
bad.
anymore. It's actually
That's not
quite
bad.
nice.
You don't have to drive to Boston, and we're not as big as Warwick, that's for sure.
No, my office was almost the size of the whole town hall up here, actually.
I got you. All right, and now, is that, that's confirmed, right, Counselor, that it's in our charter, 10-point-something, appointed by the town manager, and then approved by the council, right?
10.30 says
Right.
there shall be, within the Department of Finance, the Office of Tax Assessor.
Right.
The tax assessor shall be appointed by the town manager with the approval
Right.
of the town council.
There you go. I read that detail. All right, so, at this time, how, do I have a motion
Yes, make a
to
motion
approve the
To
appointment?
approve the appointment.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much.
All right, thank
stay up
you,
here.
for.
Stay there.
Yeah, don't go
Maybe
anywhere.
have some abatement questions.
Yeah, thanks for, accepting the challenge. All right, now, that's B4. Shall we go to B2 now? B2 is next. Of course, this was prepared, I believe, by Tasha Bizier.
That is
that
correct.
correct?
Yes, it is correct.
All right, we have that in front of us. Do you want to articulate anything on it, or?
I'll do my best if you have questions. I
Pretty
you
much
know,
by
it
itself,
wasn't
okay.
really much of my doing on there, but
Yeah.
I do know, the
Right.
general
Any-
idea of these things.
Any questions of the council regarding the abatements and additions, February 2018?
I can tell you that we've got more additions than abatements, so that's always a good thing.
That's
a good
a
thing.
good thing. That's not always the case. Was that your doing?
Yeah, I'll take credit for
Take
that.
credit, there you go. Go with it. Go
Try to
with
keep
it.
that trend going.
All right.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve the abatements and additions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
right, thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you. All right, now we're on to B3, moving right along. And that, Mr. Wazika, or?
I'm gonna let Mr. Gorham handle this one.
Mr. Gorham, okay. Yes, sir, you're on. When you're ready.
This is a resolution, obviously authorizing the application of unspent bond proceeds to the payment of the wastewater system revenue bonds. And the resolution pretty much speaks for itself. This was, according to our bond council, something that we have to approve in order to complete the bonding refinance that we've talked about. I believe one of the reasons that we're doing this is because they found an additional $200,000 that was not being used when the accounts were examined carefully, and so we will be paying down the bonds an additional $200,000.
Which is good.
That's the reason for this resolution. Karen Grandy asked us to do this. She wrote the resolution, and if there are any questions, I think, I don't really see this as a bad thing. It's another $200,000.
It's a good thing, but,
Yeah.
yes, question?
I just have, do we have to list the 200,000, the amount on this resolution? Because there's nothing,
No, we don't. I had the same question, and the answer was no.
Because the funds are, then, until they get to do it, the number may be slightly different,
Oh,
so they don't, that's why they didn't want a number either, because it's a number in there.
But I can tell you, I've been working with the town manager and our bond counsel on the bond refinance. Also, my law partner, who's my sister, Jane Grisenda, has also been working on it. Everything's moving along smoothly.
Which is good.
So we should, there was a lot of work to do. for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank and Century Bank, but everything is moving along smoothly, I would say, and it looks like we're...
Yeah, tomorrow should be the final day, we'll know if there's any glitches.
So this was one of the first things that we said we would do to get the sewer system better on track. And so this is one of the last pieces that has to fall into place to get it done.
Okay, and just one other question.
Sure.
In here, should it say that, under section 1, should it say acting director of finance / town treasurer? Because in our next resolution, it does say acting town manager, so, is it?
I don't think it matters. And again, it's what Karen Grandy drew up, and I am loath to change what she drew up.
Okay.
She's our bond counsel, we pay
Okay,
her
I'm
to
just
do
asking
that.
because we
Yeah,
have another resolution saying
you
acting,
certainly
so that's...
read every word, Member Bacon.
Yes.
That is clear.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I just
good.
wanted to make sure I...
Yeah, thank you for the question, but I don't think so. I don't think we need to change that.
Okay. I'm sorry, Karen, one other. Can we just give an update to the public also that the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank has okayed everything also, correct? That
Yeah,
they've
they did
signed off
approve. They approved the transaction that we've talked about quite a bit.
with no penalties? to
I
the
don't
town?
think, there's no penalty. We're through that gauntlet. There is no penalty.
Okay, I just want to,
So, it's gonna reduce, our bond payments, and I think there might be some more good news forthcoming, but we're not sure yet, so we're not gonna say anything. But we're pretty sure this is gonna,
Get us going.
well, it's gonna, I think it's gonna bring
Good.
some, surprising news on the sewer system.
The numbers, the upcoming numbers are looking extremely good. They're not great, but they're much better than what was anticipated, substantially way smaller than what was projected, even by some of the reports. So we are, it's looking much better. We are not in temporarily, this is only a fix, a temporary fix. We need to continue with the rest of it. But yeah, it's a good start. But this is for the 2013 B bonds. You signed the same kind of resolution for the 23A to move those down
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago.
I can tell you this transaction would not have happened without Mr. Warzika, who did a fantastic job just putting all these things together that the Infrastructure Bank wanted, and came out of the blue, because this is a somewhat unusual transaction. He had everything prepared, everything ready, and it got done.
Good.
So, this is, like I said, one of the last pieces, and, I'm glad
That's
we're
good
getting
news.
this done. We said we'd do it, we're gonna get it done.
All right, Mr. Carlson, do you have anything else?
Well, I guess, Mr. Wozniak knows that I always want the numbers, so we'll,
Right.
me and my numbers, so we'll get an update on the debt and what's left in the
I told you I
bond.
will give you
Yeah.
a new update. In fact, we've got new books coming in with all of our debt, and once I do, I'll pass that on to all council members on the interest as well as the principal payments and where we are with what's left on the debt. So you'll all get all of them.
And
Not
it'll be
only the sewer
public
debt, but
information.
it will be,
Okay.
once it's presented,
Right.
then it's public.
Okay.
All right,
A motion to approve.
motion to approve the resolution B3. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, good. All right, next, we're down to C now. C1. Mrs. Amatrano, do you want to explain this one, or is it Mr. Gorham? Who would take this one, C1?
Well, I think C1 is also some more good news for the town.
Yes, yes.
The application for a new Class B liquor license with victualling and outside live show entertainment licenses by Tavern on the Lake, DBA Morse Tavern, at 446 Tioga Avenue. So that's that building that got all fixed up and then
Yes.
stopped. And now this is hopefully a resumption of a great place in Coventry to go
Okay.
and have dinner on the lake.
All right, and as we have in front of us, the Police have no issues, the zoning officer, no issues, no concerns, and building official indicates no concerns. The applicant is working on requirements to open once license is granted. Is it Mr., is it Skoronaris? Stornaris. Well, good evening, sir.
Hello.
Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for taking over the new venture here. I understand, what, 2 others, one in Natick maybe, and one in Marlboro?
We have 2 other taverns.
Taverns,
and we're
right.
going by the same, we're going to do the same theme.
Yes.
It's a beautiful location.
Yes, it is.
But the theme, price points, quality, service, it's standard no matter where you are. So we're anxiously looking forward to opening.
Right.
Obviously, we need to have a liquor license to carry a place that big. And entertainment is part of what we plan on doing, we've done in the past. We have a long history, we've been in business for a long time. I've been in the business since I was 11, so we have been pretty successful. We think we can bring that same success. We're anxious to get open. There was a lot of work done to that building prior.
There sure was.
But we've put a substantial investment in it by buying the building as well.
Yes, yes.
So hopefully you're all supportive, and we can get everybody on board and give us a try.
Right. Now, just one question, the outside entertainment, I know that some might have a question on that. I know that Doherty's had been approved that as well, and I don't even know if they ever got the outside entertainment, but how would that be, 2, 3-piece band, something not like,
No, we're not looking
orchestra?
to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
What we're looking for is to accompany, we have the outside seating there, probably won't come into effect this year.
Right, right.
But there's an area there where you could set up a
Yes.
2 or 3-piece band. You could do a small private function out there. You have options. Jazz brunch would be unbelievable there. I don't know if you're all familiar with the location, but you're sitting on the water.
Yeah.
And we've done that at our other locations. One of the other locations is right on the water as well, and we've been successful with that.
It's a lovely location. When it was open, we had my father-in-law's 90th birthday party right down there, right overlooking the fish that came up, and he just turned 92 this past Saturday. So it has been a couple of years now.
Happy birthday to him.
Yes, yes. And again, I think a jazz, brunch would be great. You take on 1149, and that'd be a Coventry version anyhow. And I know that you're going to try to keep prices affordable in Coventry because we're not East Greenwich, as you probably have been told. And I don't know how it goes on the other 2 taverns, but affordability is big for Coventry. And I think there's no reason why that place can't be, well attended. And like I say, I live Pilgrim to Princeton Wesleyan. I can walk. And like I say, we miss Benny's, which was across the street. We really miss Benny's. But having you back, that's going to be, it's Tavern on the Lake. Is that?
Actually, it's Morse Tavern.
Morse Tavern.
It's Tavern on the Lake is the corporate name, but the DBA is Morse Tavern.
So out front, it's going to be Morse Tavern.
Morse Tavern.
All right, I got to
Tavern on the Lake was too much of a tongue twister for to answer the phone, and we believe it's recession proof. It's economy proof. If you keep it reasonable, people will come year round.
Excellent.
And you make you want to bring people 3 times a month or 4 times a month. You don't want to bring them 3 times a year.
Right.
It's we've done very well having moderately priced restaurants that families like to come to, and they bring their kids. I mean, we've been doing it a long time.
Let me ask, who's Mr. Morse? I mean,
actually, it's my wife's father.
I'm just curious.
Name,
my wife's going to ask me.
Her maiden name is Morse.
I love it.
And we've been successful with that. So
there you go. I like the name. I like the name. All right, any other, yes, Mr. McGee?
Yeah, first of all, I want to welcome you to town. We're
Thank
thrilled
you
that
very
this,
much.
business, and it sounds like it's going to be really good, so I wish you the best of luck on it. Just, then the outside entertainment, just keep in mind of, the neighbors and so on, that's all I ask. I mean, I don't expect you to be blaring rock bands, but just keep in mind, I don't know what the decibel levels are and all that, but just keep that in mind. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. As
Okay.
I said, we've done it at one of our other locations. It's right on the water. The water does
Travel.
travel.
Yeah,
It gives
okay.
you a little extra echo. We understand that. It's more, that music actually where we'll set them up, it's actually gonna go towards the building in the front. It's actually not gonna go, it's perfectly set up for that.
It is,
It's
it's nice.
it's more Sunday brunch, Saturday brunch.
Yep, yep.
But we wanted to go for it,
Excellent.
because we've done it at our other location. It's an amenity, it's an extra, it just gives the whole atmosphere. And that's what we're trying to do there.
Excellent.
And when do you plan on opening?
We are currently, there isn't anything structural to be done there. It's more getting vendors on board. It's more putting our staff together. We've hired a general manager, we've hired a chef.
Good.
We're probably 5-6 weeks away, not more than that. I can't imagine. But it's all gonna depend on our licenses when everything comes in.
right.
And getting everybody, the sooner the better, but you need to open it right. Because
Right.
first impressions, as you know.
Well, make sure, when you have the ribbon cutting, we get invited.
Are you
Yeah,
planning on doing like a job fair to get the high?
Absolutely.
Certainly, I hope that you will consider Coventry residents as tops on your list, so that would be
Absolutely,
a nice
I will.
plus. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I ask the good-looking gentleman to your right? I didn't have an introduction on
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. Nick Lambros, I'm representing the owner.
Mr. Lambros. Very good.
Helping him out with the liquor license application.
Okay, all right. Well, any other questions of the council? Now, this is a vote to approve.
I have a question. It's issuing a liquor license, does it need to have a public hearing or for that? Because when we issue other liquor licenses, it usually requires a public hearing.
I think it does, and I think we should err on the side of caution. Thank you, Councilman.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Why don't we
Just
then?
open it up for public comment. I
what-
don't think you'll hear anything but people being happy that the place is
Oh,
open.
no, I know,
think
but.
I think we should do it.
Again,
Yeah.
we do it every time we renew them, every time,
Thank
it's
you.
always a public hearing.
Thank
Okay,
you
a
for
motion
reminding
to
me.
go into public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, but I'm just wondering, does it have to be posted on the agenda, public hearing, or are we good with that?
Don't we have to advertise that, a public hearing?
I mean, I certainly don't want to
I just want to make,
No, it's part of the application process.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
it's a defect if the public hearing isn't on there.
We'll second that motion then.
Okay.
I think we're fine.
All in favor then? Okay, open the public hearing if there's anyone to make any comments. Yes?
Just a question.
Yes, sir. Come on forward. Mrs. Narkowitz, good evening.
Lisa Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street, directly across the lake.
Yes.
Just a question on if there's any limit on lateness of music, or if are there requirements from the town for hours?
As far as the town, I think we do have hours, but I'm not positive.
Well,
of
there's
what
a
they are.
noise ordinance.
Well, noise ordinance, I think
Noise,
it's
but-
11 PM, I think, a
Noise
noise
ordinance,
ordinance.
I don't have it handy, but
Yeah.
whatever the noise ordinance provides, they'd be subject to it.
Okay,
Okay.
so is that 11 PM? Is that what you?
Yeah, I was,
The time, is that
thank you.
specified
Yeah.
anywhere, Joanne? Do you know?
I can look it up really
I think,
quick.
I think it's 11 PM.
I think it is too, but so long as we could get some answers. And the question has been asked.
Carlson's assistance.
But the jazz brunch starts at 6 AM,
Yeah,
so you
6
might want to
a.m.
get up early on Sunday
Better
morning,
get Jerry
okay?
up. And he treats you. I think we're still pursuing the answer here.
I don't see a time limitation. I think that's because the time limitation applies at all times.
Right.
So it's not like
So
you
what
can
time
be-
they- or is it
There
You
is no
don't see a time
time.
limitation because that applies at all times. What does that mean?
Okay, the noise ordinance
Closing.
applies during all hours of the day.
And closing would be what time? I
Well,
guess?
that's up to the town council.
Well, I think it's, isn't it, an ordinance, don't we have? 1 o'clock, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
You can,
Closing.
yeah, you can change that.
But I don't think you'd have noise going till 1 o'clock in the morning. I would think that would be not advisable, so,
Well, is it allowed or isn't it allowed?
it probably is allowed, and if we get any calls, it'll come to me for 3 months. All right, then we'll say, hey, 1 o'clock's kinda late for music. I would think it'd probably be jazz brunch, correct? That's in the morning. All righty?
According to the
No,
sound
not
ord-
really, no.
The-
I mean,
according-
if you're
oh.
telling me that until 1 o'clock in the morning,
That they allowed to be open.
and they're
That
allowed to have a
restaurant.
band outside until 1 o'clock in the morning, is what
Right.
you're telling me.
I guess that's what it is.
Well, there is a noise
Yes,
decibel
but
level they
we've
have
already
to
said that
stay
twice.
below, so, I mean,
Yeah, you
it
gotta
shouldn't
keep
be
it
a
low.
distraction. But I don't know on the times, that would be our solicitor, job, but they do have a decibel level they have to stay below, not to interfere with the neighbors. So hopefully that's abide by. If it isn't, we will certainly hear from it, you know,
Okay.
and we will
We
address
will.
it.
All righty, thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Narkowitz. Yes?
And one other point, on the entertainment, I know it says outside, but also in the application, we put entertainment in general, I believe, so including indoors, they may have some indoor music as well.
Outside live entertainment.
But we also, I think we were told to specifically note outside for license
On
purposes.
your deck outside, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it would have some indoor music occasionally, you know.
Outside, any other questions, any other comments of the public? Anything else? Otherwise, okay, a motion to...
Can I just,
Yes.
we have a long history, and just speaking to you, we're
You
great
could-
neighbors, we really
you
are.
could-
We're good neighborhood people, and I understand your concerns, but I will tell you, we've never had a complaint
Right.
either place as far as music. We've always addressed, we'll go around and make sure. I mean, we understand, we're neighbors. We're there to do business,
Right.
but we're neighbors, and we hold up our end, believe me.
Okay, any other comments? I guess not. Motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close
Do I have
public
a
hearing.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, a motion then to approve the application.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
And a
Thank
second,
you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now you can
Good luck.
thank us.
Thank you, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, C1. Now, we have C2 license application. We have that in front of us. I think this is kind of from last year too, right?
Yeah, for the fireworks. Motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second that. This has been going on many years.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Any, motion made second, any questions, comments? Yep.
Yeah, I just have one. On the application, it says the local fire marshal, that's been approved. How about his applicant has applied for the state fire marshal's office? Do we know if that's been approved?
Yes.
It has, okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Studley's not here tonight, right?
No.
No, okay. Gonna get a hold of Mr. Studley. All right, motion made and seconded, correct?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. C2, very good. All right, we're down to, D1. Colonel, you're here, I think. Wanna come forward and speak on the matter here? Good evening, sir.
Evening.
I know we've heard about, the 4 vehicles needed. You wanna just fill us in a little bit more?
Just
What we have?
on the one vehicle, we just want to highlight that that's a replacement vehicle for a car that was damaged. The insurance is going to pay for everything that's cannibalized off that vehicle. We actually kept the vehicle for parts, so there won't be any outfitting on that one vehicle. The other 3 vehicles are straight lease purchase, but we bundle it all together with insurance money that we got to make a large down payment to get a good interest rate and then to get within that 31,000 cap going forward.
Okay. Any questions of the council then regarding the request? Anything at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Ms. Bacon?
The contract for the lease to purchase, it's not included.
We got it today, I gave it to Ed. I sent it to the acting town manager. We'll have the solicitor review it for any anomalies with it. It seems like a standard agreement, you know, going forward. If we find something in there that we think is, you know, out of the ordinary, we wouldn't go into the deal.
If there's a concern, typically what I remember doing in the past is you can make the motion conditional on approval by the town manager and the town solicitor.
I'd actually, my concern not only is with the contract, because this was discussed back during budget, that no one had reviewed it, and, you know, I wish I had gone to you beforehand, but my, okay, my other concern is the fact that we are going forward with a purchasing program that has not even been looked at by a finance director. What I'm concerned with is that this town, can we financially afford a lease to purchase program? I have to say, I'm very concerned about it. We have not had a finance director for many months, and for this to be on the agenda tonight and put this on his plate, I think he should look at our town's finances before we even go forward. And I said before during the budget session, I'm really concerned that the town is going to go towards this lease to purchase when we have not had a fiscal, I would say, a report from our finance director. It has not even been presented to the council. The questions that I was asking during budget, no one could answer them. So to go forward with this, it's really concerning.
The funding for this was approved by the council.
Right.
Prior to, and then approved at the FTM. We, again, I would have liked to have seen this come in earlier. The colonel was just able to obtain it today. Again, we're not signing anything. This is just looking for approval to move forward with the process.
Then maybe we could table this until our finance director gets in, and then is able to look at the town finances, and then be able to give the town council and the public, be able to ask questions about this. I mean...
Ms. Bacon, we did a lot of work already on this. We went around and we looked at interest rates. We'd have a locked interest rate for a certain amount of time.
And I understand that, but I also I want to know, what are the tax advantages and disadvantage, state and federal, for going into a lease program? I mean, does it say...
We have no tax advantages on that because
these are just...
I understand. The cost on the actual borrowing of on the loan on the money is about $2,000 the first year, $2,000 the second year, and about $1,000 on the third year. Yes, it's not something we would normally like to do, is do a lease purchase. Unfortunately, last year, the colonel did get locked into this with the former town manager removing the funds to purchase the vehicles that he does need and reducing them down to this amount of money. The money is in the budget to cover this. The lease purchase, which is actually a loan, it's a purchase. It's
a finance.
The financing of the vehicles.
I believe in the budget it was $31,665, right, in the budget line?
Yes.
But we're looking for $74,890.
No, that's
delineated what it is in there. It's insurance money.
That's all of it going in. That's with the $31,000. The payments, I've got the payment sheet in front of me on what it would be, and it was the $31,000 that was authorized.
$31,665.
The total cost for the next 3 years will be, it's $32,500 each of the next 3 years.
That'll be the next subsequent budget.
So I do have a question, and I'm sorry, because I'm just trying to figure out how the lease to purchase really just bothers me, because it never came before council.
It most certainly did, Mr.
No, we didn't. No, I know.
You asked questions that I couldn't answer last time. You said, where are the 3 quotes?
No, but what I'm saying, this program for the lease to purchase. Now, I'm not saying that you were asking for this during budget. I'm talking about the lease to purchase program.
Right.
That never came, it was never...
It's been done by the town in the past. The DPW has done this. I don't
The whole-
understand
but-
not understanding it. We discussed already that
did
North
discuss,
Kingstown's
but we
done it.
never got-
Warwick has done it, Westerly's done it.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with Warwick
I
and Westerly,
understand,
'cause
but
those
I did my
aren't- those
research
aren't
on it
our
because
tax
that's the
dollars.
path I was set on.
I-
And then the budget got approved and we're on that path now.
And I understand, but after having several conversations with Steve Delaney and Edward Zeker about this, it was the understanding also, we were going to wait for our finance director to come in to look at our finances of our town. That's what I'm concerned about. How are we going to pay for all of this? I
understand your concern for the finances of the town, but we run a budget at the police department and we've been very fiscally responsible about it.
Right.
Last year, we gave back almost
Could
$400,000.
you wait 2 weeks so when our
No, we're gonna
finance-
lose the rate. The rate's locked in till the 3rd and rates are going up.
Right.
Their rate on it is actually about a percentage point less than what they were originally looking at. To not lock this in and do it it could conceivably cost us some additional money, more so than
We're
what
quoted
they've already
almost
got budgeted.
5% by 2 other companies. This is 322
Yeah.
through Santander, who North Kingstown uses. We've done our homework.
All right, and not only that, it's come before us in the budget process. You
We've been-
came and we discussed this, and it was also voted on, the budget. The amount is in your budget,
It is,
right? I don't want it to be lost by waiting 2 weeks to lose more money. This is your baby, and I'm okay with going it, and again, if there's anything that's gotta be touched up, Mr. Gorham, before it's signed on the bottom line, we do that, correct? Mr. Warzika, wouldn't you have to have final approval on that?
Exactly, and nothing gets approved until
Right,
after
okay, all right.
Mr.
All
Gorham
right.
goes through it.
All right, unless there's any other questions regarding what's in front of us, it's been hashed out, you've got the money, you need the cars, you
We
just
did.
lost another one this past weekend, right? Didn't it get rear-ended?
It did get hit by the ambulance.
Yeah, okay. All right, and again, waiting 2 weeks doesn't really work when you need police vehicles. Especially it doesn't work if you're going to lose the interest rate and end up having to pay more, especially as it's already been approved by the voters. I make a, you have another question?
Yes.
Sure.
So do you think you're going to need another car because of what happened with the...
No,
getting
hopefully
hit?
not.
That's minor damage on the back. We can get that fixed through the insurance company.
I always question the age and mileage and stuff on your vehicles, but, my problem with this lease to purchase is I have a leased car. I might buy it, I might not buy it. You're locked into buying at the end of the lease.
Well, we get the vehicle. We just get it's not really a lease, it's
Right.
a finance. We get the vehicle at the end.
So it's a misnomer to call it a lease to
It
purchase?
is, yeah,
Purchase.
it's not a lease, yeah.
I mean, I trust your
It's a loan,
judgment,
yeah.
you know I do. It's just that this, yes, it was voted on, but the program itself was not really clear, ever explained to council. So, but if you think if you've got, not that you think, but if you've got your money, you've got the money in your budget, and you want to commit to these cars, as long as you can pay for them, then that's up to you. I mean,
We feel comfortable. We did do the research through other departments. It's fairly new to law enforcement, but it's been being done in other communities for a few years now. And there's no penalty to pay it down. So, like, say if we come in with a surplus next year, we can come to council and say, hey, let's make a decision, do we want to pay off these vehicles now and take them off the books? So there is no payoff early penalty with it either, which is a good part of the loan.
Okay.
so you're actually you're financing $167,129.
We are.
No. Amount financed is $167,129?
That's total financed.
Yeah,
And the-
total, right? And, okay, so you have to do $75,000 almost as a advance payment.
Which we wanted to do, which we took the insurance money, and we put it together with what we were given in this line
Okay.
item to make that down payment. The insurance money would have covered one vehicle, but we felt like it was a good opportunity to bundle this together, get a good rate.
Okay.
And the rate is fixed,
322.
3.22, that is fixed. 'Cause
Yes.
It doesn't say fixed. It is fixed.
All right, any other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have, we have another one, D2. I guess Colonel, you're still here for that one. You want to tell us about that one?
Sure. Concealed carry permits have been a topic of conversation with the chiefs for a long time. As you may or may not know, the AG also gives out permits, and the local chiefs of police give out permits. It's a pretty burdensome exercise for us to do background checks on our concealed carry permit holders, and there's been a lot more over the years. Since my tenure started, we were up from maybe a handful during Chief Volpe's time. Now I've done 30 or 40, 50 per year, it seems like. So it's very difficult to do a background check, almost not quite as much as you would do on an officer, but we do a pretty thorough one. We go out to the neighborhoods, we do backgrounds on national, state, local, cross-agency to make sure these people are suitable to carry concealed. So it's a lot of effort on our part. We feel that the fee that we charge is reasonable. The background checks last for 4 years. So a $200 fee is really about $50 a year, and there's a $40 fee that when you issue the permit itself. And then for renewals, we would charge $50. It's just, to me, an administrative burden that is kind of thrust upon us. We don't dislike doing it, but there's been a lot of back and forth between the AGs and us about who's going to handle this in the future. So it's sort of been juggled by legislature as well. But we feel it's a reasonable considering. And if you look, West Warwick did it in 2013. We put that in the packet just to give you an example. They charge $250.
That's a one-time fee?
That's the one-time fee up front, and then it's a $50 renewal.
And then the renewals.
Every 4 years. And those are usually quick for us. Those aren't nearly as much as the initial one. We'll do a quick background, and then we'll just make sure there was no, hiccups with that person, so.
Yeah, they said the initial one. But then again, it would come to do again in 4 years, they would have to do that again,
They would have to do it. We do another one, but it's not nearly as intensive as the first one.
But the fee would still be the same
It would
at
be,
$250?
no, it would be $50 for renewal.
Okay, all right, I was misunderstanding. It's not $50 a year for that, it's only.
No, it just adds up to about
And it's
that.
$40 a year for the permit to get, that would be
The
there
one-time
anyway.
permit fee is $40.
Yeah, okay, great, good.
And Chief, I know you, in your cover letter, you said see attached town of Warwick, but I think you meant West Warwick,
I
because it
did.
is on the back.
I did,
Yeah.
apologize for that.
All right, so the West Warwick one we have, and we have that in front of us.
All right.
I think you're gonna have a lot more requests, coming soon. Just the way the country's going and the world.
That's the trend.
Yeah, so whatever you had, the last, 35, 40, double it for next year.
Could be.
I'd say so, just a hunch. Okay, all in favor?
Yeah, well, motion.
Question, sure.
I just have one question. Just for clarification, I don't know what it means. In the second paragraph, it says, the second sentence, 2 types of positive identification. What does
Usually
mean?
that would be, a license and something else that proves who they are, whether it's residency sometimes too. So it's just positive ID, meaning we know who you are, and you've proven who you are to us.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Motion to approve.
All right, motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approved.
He's up again.
Okay.
I'm not moving, I'm staying.
Don't go anywhere.
D3. Go ahead, Colonel.
So this has been a project we've been working on for about 2 years, almost, probably a little more than 2 years now.
Yes.
We originally started the project to develop the vest that goes over the uniform, which you may have seen on other agencies. A lot of agencies have gone to that. We spent a lot of time over the last year and a half trying to match our color, and really got to the end of the earth, and the answer was really we couldn't get it done. We tried some hybrids. The material isn't good, and the major vendors don't make it in that color. So we sent you the pictures of keeping our color as going to the black, but keeping our gray as a piping. And our officers are really pleased with it. We've tested it on the road for probably over a year now in different uniforms. So we decided to move on to this uniform, and I think The officers are really looking forward to it. It's a lot more lightweight than the wool, which like this week you'll see our officers out there in that wool uniform, and it's tough. The uniforms are good. We're going to keep the grays as our kind of Class A for funerals and things like that, at least for several years until we figure out if we want to do a different Class A uniform and move on to the black. But we're keeping the piping in our traditional color. So this will be a lot more inexpensive as well. The officers spend about $120 for a pair of pants and $120 for a shirt now with the current vendor. So they're going to cut that in half with the new galls. So they're happy. It's paid for all out of our forfeiture account too. There's not tax money being spent on this. It's all from our seizure and forfeiture accounts.
Okay, all seizure money, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other additional questions?
Not just a change, on the last sentence, it says, the cost for the purchase of the vehicles. I think it should say, uniforms on there.
We use the same templates when we
Yeah,
write
that
these.
same template, I figured that,
The
just
uniform,
kicked it
so
in,
we'll
so.
change that to uniform.
Teresa.
You were off that week. Okay. All right.
Can I just ask?
Yes, sure.
When you say the one lot of patrol uniforms, are they long sleeve, short sleeve?
So we'll do 2 long sleeve shirts and 2 short sleeve shirts. We'll buy 2 vests for each officer and 2 pants. And then after that, they buy everything out of their own,
Okay.
the uniform allowance. So
Okay.
we get them started with the changeover, which is in the contract. If we change the uniform, we're supposed to get them set up.
Mhm.
So it'll be 2 of each. But we'll probably buy initially just the winners now. As we're coming close to the end of the summer, the first purchase will be winners only, and then it will make a second one, just not to overload the vendor. But it won't go past the amount we're going to spend here.
Okay. And when do you think the officers will start wearing these uniforms?
As soon as
projecting
the
that?
vendor can get them to us, yeah, they're really eager to get into them.
Yeah.
So,
Did
yeah.
he give you did the vendor give any indication?
I would say it's going to take a couple months.
Couple
with the
months?
Initially, yeah. So,
Okay.
But we'll send something out on social media before we do it, just to make sure everyone knows it's our officers, and we'll change the look a little bit, but
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be the same people.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much.
Okay, good luck. And we have, next is D4, Parks and Rec.
Is this on? Yeah.
Hello, it should be, I think.
Good evening, council.
Should
All right,
be
and
on.
then I also want to bring up Mike Tedeschi, my park foreman, in case you have any questions about the use of our, what we're asking for, our equipment, as well as Jay Andriotti, who spoke in April about the refuse truck and why we need another one.
Okay. All righty, well, we have the, resolution in front of us. I know we've seen the need, slide presentation, correct? That was, done months ago.
Exactly.
Oh, that was on the truck, okay, I'm
Right, so
sorry,
this
we're on
is
the lawnmower.
the lawnmower, and both of them.
I'm one ahead of myself, sorry about that. All right, so, questions regarding the need, you have it in your budget.
Correct. So it's actually not through the operating budget.
Okay.
It was not put into the operating, this is actually coming out of the program fees, that agency account was just mentioned before.
Mhm.
Through frugal spending and through adding more programs and getting additional registrations, I was able to raise enough funds, knowing I couldn't use the impact fees,
Right.
to purchase these immediate items, which have been in the capital budget for quite some time.
Okay. Well, that's good, good saving and needed. Now, does this replace one you have now?
Correct.
Okay.
We actually have 2 that are not in use and 1 that is from 1992.
All right.
I can have my park, lead mechanic speak about the condition.
Well, it's, what,
you like-
26 years old, I imagine.
Yeah.
You can speak if you wish, guys. Your name again, for the record?
Jay Andrea.
Okay.
Mike Tedeschi.
All right. And employees of Parks and Rec.
Yes, since 2002 I've been there.
Are
Brief
you,
intermission, went to highway in 2014.
good, good.
Since,
In your Coventry residence or no?
Yes, I am.
All right, just checking.
Yes.
All right, Coventry
And
then.
I'm kind
All
of
right.
proud of the,
All right.
you know,
Yes.
sports programs I went through it.
I guess so.
In the 60s, I played Pop Warner football and,
Excellent.
born, raised, went through everything and still.
Very good. Well, I don't have any personal questions. It's been money accumulated. It's not really tax dollars, so to speak. Do you have a question regarding?
No, I
anyone
mean,
else
we did,
have
it's all been
question on
paid,
this?
it's, the price on that.
Quick question.
Yeah, go
In our
ahead.
paperwork, Sourcewell, can you explain?
That's formerly NJPA, the same ones that DPW uses.
Oh,
It's a
okay,
cooperative
all right, the general,
purchasing
okay.
program. They just changed their name.
Okay, no problem. No, I'm sure you've done your research, and John Deere's a good product, so I know you get everything you can out of your existing equipment.
I
So-
actually checked with the local vendor just to see what they would ask, and it was the same price with all the discounts and everything as well, just to confirm.
What's the warranty on this? Do you have a warranty on this mower?
Let me check.
Yes, there would be a warranty.
There would be a warranty. Let me see if it's in the contract. I apologize.
3 of the other mowers also came from the exact same vendor, so, they're very reliable.
And how long have we had them?
Quite a long time. Well, some of them were bought, 2 of them were bought in 2006, but, those I see coming brand new. We have not purchased another new mower, with tax money since 2006.
I don't have the warranty here, but I can find it as, you know, I'll just make sure there is one and it is
Yeah,
appropriate,
I
absolutely.
think it's 1 year of, 1 or 2 years for the, yeah. I probably have Jay the mechanic to, assess this, and I hope you ask us the mileage and years of our road fleet, because I know you did, want to ask that question, but you did not want to ask.
No, for you, it's gonna be engine hours. Engine hours are more important than mileage.
When we get into the vehicles, because they're hurting pretty bad.
Okay.
That's the next item.
I don't know. Motion approved.
All right, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Yeah, okay.
All right,
that's
2
fine.
seconds.
As long as it's seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, approved. Before, next we have, D5. And that's where the truck comes in.
Yeah. And so
Um,
this is what our lead mechanic spoke about in April. I know
Right.
Councilman McGee also looked at it. Our safety officer deemed it not safe to drive,
Right.
as well as obviously our mechanic.
And it hasn't been used, right, since that time?
It has not, and right now DPW has been helping us, but they
Right.
are stretched thin and they cannot continue to do so. And they don't have the appropriate equipment to help us, because we have
Okay.
such,
We've always done garbage, Mondays and Fridays. Thank God DPW's helping us to do it Mondays. And we're getting a lot of calls, garbage is overflowing, because we can't do it on Fridays. We don't have the ability or the truck to do it. Even if we wanted, DPW to help us out more, they can't even get out to the location, the fields, that we do. We actually have to bring them out curbside, so they can actually pick them. It's not like, picking at a resident home where they bring them out to the curb, they have them in the right direction, they're spaced apart. Ours are in the middle of fields, ours are around back of concession stands, ours are in parking lots for the greenway. They just don't have accessibility. We actually have to go out and pull them out for them. So we occupy 2 guys, for the entire day to pull them out and to push them back in, whereas if we had our own vehicle, which we used to, we could do the same thing in a day. Ourselves and not occupy the vehicle.
Mr. President, if I may?
Yes.
I mean, I know how bad you need a truck. I did physically get a chance to get out and look at it. My concern, and it's just, you know, in general, is we voted on the last truck years ago, way before your time. Just want to make sure you've done the proper research. You got the truck that's going to
that dump was
last.
actually given to us by DPW. It's not something we actually purchased.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Was it, maybe it was the arm that we purchased?
It was
That's what
the arm, and it was it was before my time,
Yes,
and it was
right.
modified to the point where it's no longer usable.
Yeah.
We put on an F-350 truck, which is a one-ton truck.
Yeah.
Which has 1,000 pounds on one side already with the apparatus, plus the hydraulic gate. We're already overweight.
Yeah, right. No, I've seen that truck, and it definitely, I just want to be sure that,
The frame,
Yeah.
empty.
And we thought about this, so we just don't use it for refuse collection. We also could use it for, we plow with DPW every time it snows.
Good.
So we need the plow as well to help DPW.
So this will be a brand new pickup truck for us, with the garbage unit insert in the back. so we can get to all these fields, Rice Field, where we have to drive out to the field, plus we can put a plow on. We have our own plow route, we do the food station, food banks, we do the community center, we have a lot of parking areas, the greenway parking, we do an awful lot of plowing. Our fleet is, I can let the mechanics speak to it, but we're hurt pretty bad. This is a way to actually get a truck and a garbage truck, something that we can utilize.
Okay, we have the money
We
in the
actually
budget?
have the money.
Okay. All right, any other
They're
questions?
not tax dollars.
Yeah, I just have,
Thank you for pointing that out. Go ahead.
do you also recycle? Do you pick up?
Um,
Okay. Do you also recycle?
That
It-
is impossible for us to monitor. It's not like a residence where you could send them
Yeah.
a slip. No matter what we put out, green, black bins, it all comes mixed. It's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
We are starting education. I did contact DPW and their recycling coordinator to work with them and slowly put out literature and talk with the leagues. I know Coventry Soccer Association is on board and trying to teach their children. So it's a process, but it's something we're working towards.
it's tough when other people come from many different communities, even different states, and they come in and they're just not conscious to recycling like we are.
Okay, yeah, I know. I've been traveling looking at colleges with my daughter, and I have to say, the college campuses, it is unbelievable the amount of recycling, and then this one little garbage can, that's it. So it's, they have quite a bit, so I was just asking.
My stepdaughter off at UConn on Friday, moved her in, so they're very well recycled there.
Okay.
Maybe we'll be there someday.
So are these, the metal cans that you pick up?
Same things you put out at your home.
Right, so we can't possibly lift them. We need an actual lift to do so for safety.
Okay.
And that's where the insert comes in. The back of the truck actually has an arm, dumps it in.
So there will be no retrofitting this with anything? It'll
No,
be, in
no.
this?
I
what's-
actually spoke to different city departments, DPWs, our own DPW, to see if how this works, how, like, does it mean modification to suit your needs? I spoke to the Rhode Island Recreation and Park Association, reached out to directors of those departments. So we did our due diligence.
Okay.
Can I just ask, when you buy this and the mower and whatever else, how much is left in your agency fund at this point?
We have
Microphone.
Mike?
I'm sorry. We have about $60,000 for the programs run throughout the year, and then a little bit left over for camp. So we'll have about between $70,000 and $90,000. I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I asked.
Approximately $60,000 to $70,000.
After you do these purchases?
These two purchases?
Correct.
Well,
So we have $60,000 in the agency now. We're going to take that money from the program fees that are collected through the MyRec system, which I told you, and deposit it in there. So we will have the funds we need to run the programs as normal.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
What color are we getting?
Whatever color you
I want glitter.
I like that blue, that furnace thing.
Okay.
John Deere green, come on, all the way.
Oh, that's on the phone. Is that
All
the-
Okay, then.
Pickup truck.
Do we have-
No, it will not be.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah,
Do
we-
it all day for 8 hours.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Okay, next on the agenda, we have item D6 is a matter.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion to table this because Mr. McGee is not here to answer any additional questions that we may have, so I'm going to move to table it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to table it till our next meeting, I assume. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, tabled. And 7, we've already voted on. So actually, we got E1. E1, who wants to introduce that now? Mrs. Carlson or Mr. Gorham or? All right, Mr. Warzika? Mr. Gorham?
This is gonna be a Mr. Gorham.
Anybody? It's the last item.
Just so we're all on the same page, so to speak. This was advertised, it was posted, it requires a public hearing because it's an amendment to an ordinance, but I did
Okay.
check with the town clerk. It's properly before you for a vote tonight.
Public hearing.
this simply makes the ordinance regarding motor vehicle tax exemptions broader so as to include a family member, which I think was the intent of the ordinance when it was enacted. This just clarifies that. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Councilmember Carlson who picked up on this and noticed that it was probably narrower by its terms than it should be, given that it's supposed to benefit the family. So, am I correct?
Tasha and I discussed it, yes.
Okay, and so, I think you wrote this as well, didn't you?
No.
Who wrote it?
I think Tasha fixed it.
Oh, well, it's very well written,
Did that, yep.
and I think it's clear, it clarifies the ordinance, and so I'm gonna turn it over to you now, and you can do whatever you want with it.
Okay, I think also, in addition to family, it's also,
You need to-
or a person who lives in the same
Right.
household, which may or may not be family.
So, you may wanna open the public hearing, see
Okay.
if there's any
All right,
comment on it, and
a
then...
motion to go into public hearing. All right, do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, a public hearing regarding this matter, if anybody wants to say anything on it? All right.
Kate Whittingham, 586
Good
Old
evening.
Main Street. Good evening. I would just like someone to explain what it means.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yes.
Shall exempt 50%, up to 50% of the value of the lift. Is that not it?
It simply means the person who is...
Oh, all right. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Solis,
Great.
why don't you? I'm
Oh.
sorry.
All right.
Why did I ask?
Yeah, he stuck it out all night for this.
I thought he just wanted to shake our hand. I thought he just
Watch
wanted
the
to
whole
shake
thing to
our
the
hand.
end, right?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So, state statute has a provision that if a town or a city puts in an ordinance that you can exempt 50% of the value of the motor vehicle if it's outfitted for handicapped accessibility.
Okay.
The state statute's pretty broad, so the towns need to enact an ordinance, in which this town of Coventry already has. However, if you note the original ordinance, the way it was written, basically caused, the only way we could give the exemption would be if the person that was the paraplegic or the quadriplegic had to be like the titled owner of the vehicle. And that's not always the case. I mean, it could be a kid, it could be like a 12-year-old.
Right.
Or just, it could just be somebody who's, you're not going to take them to the registry and put the car in their name. So what this does is it broadens that provision, and, from my experience, not very many people meet this qualification. Right. It's like a immaterial fiscal impact, regardless of how it's, who can get it. It requires a permanent loss of use of both legs or both arms.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way that it was written originally, that person that lost the legs or arms would have to register the vehicle in order to stay in line with the statute. So it just got brought into it so that if it's someone living in a household, that somebody else can register the vehicle, they can outfit the vehicle. It has to be outfitted with a ramp, like the automatic to pick up the wheelchair and all that. So these are very expensive as it is, and so we just help them out on the tax side with it. But
Okay.
the change to the ordinance just broadens it so that person that has the disability does not have to be the registered owner. It
Be
allows
someone in the
others.
family.
Yeah, a caretaker basically is
Or
kind of what they're
caretaker.
driving at.
Okay.
And I 100% agree with it. I think it should definitely be this way and not that other way.
Okay.
It's a little bit too strict, in my opinion.
Okay, any other questions to the public regarding the ordinance change? Yes, sir? Name and address for the record, sir.
My name is George Fidus. I own the Chevrolet Pizza for 40 years.
Did I get a residence?
Warwick.
What was that, please?
I live in Warwick.
Warwick.
Yeah.
You live in
I
Warwick?
have business here, the Chevrolet Pizza.
All right.
1146 Main Street, Coventry.
George, this is not, we're going to vote on this ordinance right now. Our
Yeah.
public comment's going to happen in a minute. We'll talk about your
Something else.
issue that you have
Okay.
here.
This
So
is
give us about
regarding this ordinance
Yeah,
only.
Just regarding this ordinance,
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Anyone else? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to close public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's closed. Do I have a motion to approve this ordinance change as we have before us? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, now we are at the general, finally.
Now we're at public comment.
Public comment.
Here you come, George.
Come on up. Thank you, Mr. Celeste.
I own the Silver Lake Pizza for 40 years.
Silver Lake, okay.
Back from my place there is the river property. You know, a lot of people, you know, for the neighborhood, the time the river overflow, they come there and look the river. The kids come for fishing. It's a lot of fun. All the town enjoys there. A few years back, Greg Bernardo bought the property, the liquor store, next to my place. The guys decide to make the place big. I don't know the way take the permit. I think take it over table. Because nobody's report to me to say, oh, the next door neighbor is going to build it. You know why nobody's report? Because the building at bottom size is 7 easement. And nobody should know that. The guy not go to the zoning because no want to say the truth is the easement.
I got to stop you for a second. Maybe it's me, maybe it's the hour, but I'm not really clearly understanding what your concern is, to be honest.
Send that because...
I can help,
Okay.
Because the guy, he built it on top of the
The
easement.
liquor store next to you?
Yes.
Yeah, he's saying that he built a corner of the building, ended up on the easement.
On the easement.
No easement.
Built on the easement.
Okay.
The corner of it is where he's claiming that it's...
No one easement, it's the two easements.
Yeah.
A bottom stay easement because it matches the river's name. In North America, come out, stay easement.
Okay.
It's for the public, for everybody.
Okay.
And the guys now, they try to close everything.
Well, let me explain it. I'll kind of what I've been down there. What happens? He's got it. It claims that there's an easement which runs and a right of way which runs between Silver Lake Pizza and the liquor store.
And the liquor store.
As well, when you're reading this, and it runs around the back of the building, and the question is as to whether the right-of-way, is being blocked because the liquor store has put a dumpster blocking path going through in the back there, okay? And the question is to whether the right-of-way is open to the public that can get their way back to the river, okay, is what he's talking. And that, whereas I was... Originally, when we were discussing, I'm thinking it was a land dispute between over there, but that's not. A right-of-way is a whole different thing. In order for the public to get to the river, as getting into Tyoke Lake. That's what George is claiming. I've got copies of that stuff here.
Because we don't have any.
Exactly. He brought that into me tonight. And made the copy, and I've actually stopped to speak with Brian about it, which he wanted a copy of this exactly, and I've actually given a copy to Solicitor Gorham to have him look at it to see if in fact it is a public right of way that if the town would have something to do with that. We have to, but that's what Mr. Feitis is talking about.
And if we don't, then it's a civil matter.
If we, exactly, and that's,
right.
Well, if it is. Correct, and that's why, but he's got all his paperwork and the other stuff over here with the exhibit, which is attached to, the deeds, et cetera, all the stuff that has been, in town hall is right here, so that's what, he's been having his problems there and arguments, but he wanted to bring it before the council at
Well,
public
thank you for bringing it forward.
and doing that.
We'll eventually get copies of that?
Exactly,
Okay.
I mean, I can
So
make
are you
copies of
going
this for
to
everybody.
Go to zoning?
I am going to go to zoning I'm going to get him a copy. He said that he would take the copy of this to determine that, and again, and once I get those answers, and as well, Attorney Gorham can help me on that as well too. But that's
all right.
But that's what
We'll look into it. Mr. Spearman. Yes, sir.
I don't come up frequently.
It's too much of a walk.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. How long have you been looking for a town manager now? Oh, quite a while?
Well, officially,
Oh, my point being,
a month is.
okay, you have somebody right there
No, yeah.
who runs this whole town, This whole building.
I don't think he's.
I've been coming to a lot of council meetings over the years, okay? That man right there does a phenomenal
done a
job.
good job, yep.
And he should be considered for that position. I don't know if he can do it, but you
We'll
can.
have to find out if he put an
I tell you what,
application in. I
give it a
understand.
lot of thought,
I hear you.
because he's the best I've seen around in a long
All right.
time.
All right.
At every
Well-
job he does, you go financial town meeting, putting this stuff
Yeah.
up, runs this whole building with no one's around.
No arguments.
I mean,
I just-
I know there's no arguments, but boy, I'll tell you, that's the man for the job.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your public comment.
Thank you, sir. I'll have the check for you later.
You're on breakfast now, you.
Listen, Babe Ruth Field is not gonna get any cosmetics this coming in. All right, any other, public comment before we
Actually,
adjourn? Oh, okay.
I have public comment.
Okay.
Deb Bacon,
All
16
right.
Kelp Way. Since I couldn't talk about it before, while I attended the Central Coventry Fire District meeting, I'm a CCFD taxpayer, on July 19th, which this is, that's why I'm bringing this to your attention. The chairman, Fred Grelinski, said when a discussion came out about the fire district plan approval for the DHS and police building, that we're going to be charged $42,000 for that. But he also mentioned that how CCFD has been very generous and good to the town, and he mentioned that he gave the town, the CCFD gave the town a fire truck. So I'm questioning, why does the town need a fire truck, and where is the fire truck?
I actually went and researched this after I heard it. I spoke to Kevin. We have a fire truck. It's up on top of the hill. What Kevin wants to do with it, or plans to do with it, is turn it into a water tanker for when they're working on the roads and stuff, because of it's a tanker truck. So he's gonna utilize it to, he got it for the bubble, he's saving the town money. They're gonna use it, so like when they're doing street sweeping and doing construction, they need water on scene. Now he's got a truck to do water. So it is a fire truck, but not to put out fires. Only to put down dirt.
Oh, yeah, when did this come to the town?
I did not even know until you had mentioned it. I checked with him. I didn't ask him when he got it, but it does sound like it hasn't been, it's been relatively recently that he got it. It hasn't been that long ago from what I understand.
Oh, that'd be a good question to ask.
Yeah.
But free is free, and I don't know, it must have been a write-off for the Central Fire Department. It had to be, what do they call it, whatever, discarded.
Yeah, there wasn't anything in the paperwork they gave us, so I don't
Okay.
know anything about it.
All right.
My other question, when I did my tour of my town back in 17, one of the things over at the Annex Building, and I guess it would be the kitchen over across the street, from floor to ceiling, there were boxes, and Graham Waters had told me they were air conditioning units.
Yes.
What are we doing with those? If we're not going to use those air conditioning units, can we sell those air conditioning units?
Coincidentally, someone just inquired about that the other day. I'm trying to think of what, I think it may have been the fire department, in fact. One of the fire departments was asking about those. And we're looking into as far as that. My understanding with those, we ended up with 40, 50 of these, wall unit systems.
Wall units, yes.
The problem is they contain the old type of Freon, not the newer, and that's why we ended up getting them for the bubble. We have used some have been utilized in some areas, but you're hard pressed to push 50 of them out the door and utilize them. So we are doing that, and we are looking at the possibility of seeing if we can sell them and get some revenue for the town out of them instead of just sitting there.
Okay.